Welcome back, Exiles, to the Q&A portion. I am your host, ZiggyD, and today we're going to be touching on the design of the Druid and the fate of the Vaal League while we gather some community questions. Then we'll deep dive into endgame, balance, and other game design topics. I am, of course, joined by game directors Jonathan Rogers and Mark Roberts. How you guys going today?
Oh, very good. I mean, it's been a great one to work on this one. Like, I've really enjoyed it. So yeah, it's definitely great to see you again. And it feels like it's only been like no time at all since the last time you were here with the PoE1 release.
It feels like only several weeks, and that's pretty accurate.
yeah.
We get to see you twice as often now, so that's fun.
Yeah, I'm around every 2 months or so now, roughly. It's great. I love it. Let's keep going. So I do have to open with this, though, is like Druid looked a little bit weak, I think, in the demonstration video today.
Yeah, I think one of the issues that we have is like we're so concentrating on like just demonstrating how the mechanics work that we sort of forget to be like, okay, let's actually make sure the damage numbers that we're doing on this like test character we're filming here are actually like in line with what people actually normally expect. So yeah, there's just a few things there that we probably should have caught and made a little stronger there. But yeah, when you actually play it, it's certainly from the alpha feedback incredibly powerful. Like
yes.
we were seeing some people say, oh, the wolf looks weak or whatever. Well, I can assure you that on alpha there's a bunch of people saying the wolf is super OP. So it just comes down to the things you go through in order to demonstrate stuff.
I think we probably going to be worthwhile. We make some videos showing a bit more of the less demonstratey side and get them posted and stuff this week. Because honestly, you can just play it literally right now, and it's
Yeah, I've definitely been playing and recording a bit myself, because I was like, when I first watched it as well, the draft, I was thinking, it's like, I don't really get a feel for what it feels like to actually play it. There's good demonstration here of the mechanics, but yeah, I can understand how from your perspective, it'd be pretty easy to be like, oh, I want to communicate how this cool thing works and this cool thing works.
There's a fine line there for sure, where if you get too hectic, people are like, I don't even know what's going on. They're just looking at a ruckus. And then, in this case, let's say we went on a little too far on the other side of the line, whereas it's just a bit too slow. And as a result, yes, it can look a bit weak, but
I think we'll try and get some like raw Druid gameplay out to people to understand it. I think particularly for this class, because of the shape-shifting stuff, it's so hard for us to, normally we can look at something and be like, oh, that's just a demonstration. We kind of know what it would look like at endgame. But I think with the Druid, it's just so unusual. It's so different that it's actually hard to judge what it would feel like to even play it. And I'm happy for my hands-on to say that like it's almost immediately like very smooth, the shape-shifting of it, the movement of it, especially because like in your demonstrations, you're not really using dodge, roll, sprint, that sort of thing as well, which makes a big difference.
I suppose one of the things we didn't really dwell on in the video as well is that we do actually have dodge roll. I mean, they're not actually rolls for the animals, but all the animals can like hop around and that kind of stuff. And that was honestly one of those things that was like kind of funny, because initially we actually had it so when you dodge rolled, you would transform back into a human. And the reason we did that is because it's really hard to make animations for animals that like actually work correctly. Like we actually thought it was impossible. But then when we actually put it on alpha, there was the kind of visceral reaction of I want to still be a bear, like, while I'm hopping around. So we ended up having to like work out like how can we make this possible? How can we make it so that you can actually do the dodge rolling as an animal? And that sort of ended up being pretty good, I would say.
And this was like clearly the hardest class to design so far, and it took a bit longer. Like I think you were originally hoping to bring it out in a previous expansion.
Yeah, quite a while ago. But the thing is with it is that it's kind of like designing 4 classes in one, because not only do you have the situation where obviously we want to have synergy between skills and stuff like that, and we can like look at that in a normal class and work out what those might be. But with this class, people want to be able to play just as a bear or just as a wolf, as well as people who want to play like dual with a human and a wolf, or people who just want to be a wolf and a bear, and like all the different combinations. So we had to kind of come up with a way for like each line needs to be self-sufficient and that it's got all the tools that you need. But at the same time, you have to not have it so it feels like there's just duplication between them. We're like, oh, like this is just the same thing as what a bear has, but you are a wolf instead. So we kind of have to like, it's like you need all the tools, and yet you also need to have them feel different. And that just made it really, really tricky to get all the things right with it. And then it didn't also help that, since the last time we were working on the Druid, way back when we showed it off in Gamescom 2023, we had WSD, and that is a whole other complication because, like how can we make that work with the animal forms? It's like a whole thing. Like I'll tell you the wyvern, for example, like we had a hell of a time making it so that you could do the ranged attacks, because you need to be able to walk while you're doing it. The wyvern's sitting there with its arms like planted on the ground, like being able to walk while also spinning it. Yeah, it's like we went through so many iterations of that. So yeah, it was just a very tricky class overall, like just crazy.
I remember seeing some very goofy looking looking like wyvern like months and months ago.
Yeah.
You were like trying to, this is not working.
Right.
Like,
Well, I
this
also
does
remember
not
like
look right.
for a long time the wolf was just like a dancing dog. It was just like it looked really silly. And like man, the wolf as well. I mean, it was really hard to get right, and because one of the things we really wanted to avoid was I didn't want that too much of that whole like man in a wolf suit vibe.
Yes.
Like I wanted to actually get this the feeling of like this is an actually different animal, which I think with the bear and the wyvern's way easier. With the wolf, it's like it's really hard not to just go back into that. So we had a lot of questions about like what even the locomotion was. How does it walk? Are we going to walk on 2 legs? Are we going to walk on 4? We ended up splitting the difference. You can do both, right? Like you get that when you're attacking and you can be upright walking on 2 legs. When you're walking, you run on 4, and you actually do get a speed boost while you're on 4 legs. Like as a wolf, just so after like 1 second of walking, you go down on 4 legs. You start moving a bit faster. So yeah, it's
Actually,
pretty cool.
an interesting thing there, I don't think is each form technically has a kind of passive benefit.
Right.
Yeah.
So obviously you got the running fast as a wolf. Can't remember exactly what the wyvern ones were, but like for the bear, for example, because you're just a bit bigger, you know, a bit of a tank. You actually do get armor, and armor applies to elemental damage as a thing, and like, you know, there's a kind of, which is like honestly, unless you actually click the bear keyword, is like undescribed everywhere.
Well, it was even more than that, because I was just looking at it in game before. The bear has like passive endurance charge generation.
Yes, it does. From rage expenditure, it does.
I was like, that's so cool.
yeah. So we really wanted to make sure that each of the different forms had things that can benefit the other forms. So like it was really tricky to think like, what are resources that a bear can generate? What are the resources that wolf can generate? What are the ones the wyvern can generate that the other ones can then use in order to kind of get that cross synergy? So that's kind of like one of the reasons why we had to kind of come up with all that stuff. And part of the trickiness.
And that caught me by surprise as well, because like technically it's mentioned, but I never really fully understood the idea that you can swap between the forms, like human to animal and back. Yeah, I figured that's what's going on here. But you can like leap in as a wolf and then immediately transform to a bear mid slam.
You absolutely can. So the thing with this is that you want to present a fantasy to someone as far as like what the UI is pushing you towards and all that sort of stuff. Like there are going to be a lot of people who are like, I want to be a bear, and they just pick bear stuff and they go all bear, right? But at the same time, we're unconstrained in the sense that you can pick all the other stuff. You can use it at the same time. So one talisman, like effectively when you pick on a talisman from like wolf, bear, or wyvern, what that's giving you is the default attack, right? That's what you're actually picking, and that's all it is, right? And that often will guide you like what skills you're picking and so on, but you can just use with that same talisman as many different animal skills as you would like. That just means that you've got that sort of free flowing, like, you know, trying out different stuff, sort of combo gameplay that we like to try and get. So obviously there will just be a lot of people who just pick one thing, right? Like I absolutely expect that. There's a lot of experimentation to do there if you want to do it.
Yeah, so you've tried to hit like making it so like people who just want like a simple straightforward, like I just want to run out as bear and slam the ground, like that's certainly very possible there. But also you with this whole class you had the problem of how do we make like a spellcaster and a melee attacker that's shapeshifter as well. I mean, this class has got a bit of everything.
For sure.
How did you make all that kind of like work together and solve that build problem of like, how do you actually scale these things together in a way that just one thing isn't way better than everything else?
Right. Well, I mean, it's always tricky, and Mark's obviously the one who handles a lot of the balance stuff. But I can see, even just from a design perspective, so I just throw over the fence all my horrible stuff, and then you're like, how the hell am I going to balance this? Effectively, like, so even with the spellcaster side, so one of the things we initially wanted with the spellcasting is a lot of it's like over time type effects that, so for example, with the volcano being the really obvious one, right? Like you can create this thing, and then you can turn into an animal and do other stuff at the same time. So we needed on the human side a lot of things that last for a long time. But the problem you then run into when you actually go to balance the thing is like, okay, well, if you've just got like 5 damage over time style spells, why not just cast all of them and then you don't have to ever do anything else, right? Like, so it's like that kind of stuff makes it really hard. So then you have to start thinking, okay, we want to make it so that you cast a long-term thing as a human, but then being an animal is going to augment that so that it improves it. So for example, with the tornado, it's got a similar mechanic to the little twisters that the hunters have, where ground effects can empower it with extra elemental stuff. And so then we're like, okay, well, if the animal forms are the ones that can create the ground effects, then that means that you're kind of like, you're going to want to do, like to mix that with the tornado, you now have to have both the animal forms and the spellcaster stuff if you want to get all of that together. So it's just a lot of that thinking about how can an animal form aid a spell, how can a spell aid an animal form, like all the way through. And then, as I said, we throw it over the fence, and then Mark tries to work out what kind of numbers can actually make it
it's a web of infinite difficulty, right? Because like we're talking about the 4 forms within the class, but each of these skills also synergizes with every other class and every other skill in the game, and it's becoming growingly more complicated. But that's also what's fun about the game, and what all the things you can unlock and the crazy builds you can do. But I mean, like this week's focus has been like, okay, we had all the, like during our alpha testing and internal testing, we had like, there was the I want to be all forms going between, there was the I just want to be wolf, I just want to be bear, I just want to be a dragon, and now we're getting a lot more of I just want to cast nature plant skills and do plant stuff. And so it's like, okay, well, how do we make that work? Well, because they're quite long duration, so we're having a bunch of complexity with that as well. And it honestly does just spiral into like, oh my God, there's 20 million variables here. But it's fun. And at the end of the day, as long as it is honestly fun to play, then honestly we're golden. So, I would say we're pretty much there on almost everything with this class. I'd actually say we're a little bit more prepared than normal. We've had a lot of testing. Despite, I mean, partly because it's been in the works for so long. But it's, I don't know, like ultimately pretty fun. I'd say there's still obviously there's still more to do. There's obviously always more to do. But there's a lot going on, a lot of enjoyment. I saw yesterday, I was just like walking past someone's computer and, someone was mentioning like, it's just fun placing 6 volcanoes and then just slamming on them. I was like, all right, sweet, you do you. Like, that's fine.
I was definitely enjoying obliterating bosses in bear form, like with dropping tornadoes, and there's the totem, which you can summon in animal form. And then you're putting fishes down and they're exploding, and you're putting extra things on the ground and they're exploding. And there's definitely some boss deletion going on there. So.
Even just walking past the just many entangles going out, and then there's that plant support gem. I'm like, all right, it's putting the new...
I see chat being like, no, Ziggy, don't get it nerfed. I do have to admit that I did already get one thing, let's say fixed. There was a thing that was like double generating rage. So I'm like, I don't know if this was intended.
Right.
And like, no, the designer said that's probably not intended. Thanks, Ziggy. I'm like,
I don't know.
Sorry,
we'll see where that goes, because I was like, no, that's fine.
This is a fish.
It made it to me, and I was like, no, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, because it generates rage when you first slam, and then the fishes, every time they pulse, it generates rage. I'm like,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit, I didn't even know that.
Because like the totem's making it pulse, and that's generating rage each time.
Right.
I'm like, that doesn't seem intentional.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I love that, because that's like ridiculously powerful. That feels like way permissive. I was like, this feels illegal, but that's like... You gotta let a few things in there that feel illegal.
It's doing what the skill says.
I may not have. Maybe I didn't get a nerf. Okay, cool.
I don't know. They might have changed it. I'll find out afterwards. I just throw my opinion in there. I don't want to necessarily be like, I try and make sure with a lot of these balanced discussions, it's not like, I'm just an authority on the matter. I want to actually discuss these things through, because maybe it isn't actually fine, but my first instinct is like, like let it run wild. Like, what's the problem? So
you gotta.
We'll see what happens, but whatever. They don't know what the problem is, so don't worry. Oh, now they do. Thanks, you've ruined it. Now people will know if it changed, and now
they'll see the thing not generating rage, and let's see that line of text. Now that's the Ziggy line of text. I'm developing a reputation now. It's just helping finding bugs. It's okay. So, like the shapeshifting stuff comes from this trinket, the talisman?
Yeah, the animal talisman.
And is there any limitation to just kind of like putting that on another class and just say like, I am playing my Mace Marauder or my Quarterstaff Monk, and I want to do a wolf leap slam that marks targets.
You can do it. In fact, it was one of the things initially that it's funny with the audio team, because initially like, we want to record like bear lines for the Druid the whole time, and I'm like, hey guys, remember, anyone can turn into this animal. Are you actually going to commit to every single class is going to have like three different extra versions of every single line the character can deliver?
Maximum effort.
It's like that's a bit tricky. So we ended up going with a voice mod in the end. But that was one of those.
It's like they're their kind of their thoughts, I think it shifts to. It almost sounds like, to me, that's what it sounds like. They're like, they're thinking it or something like that. I don't know.
But would it be completely impossible to record every single line an additional 3 times for every character class?
Voice actors, everybody come back and we need to roar like a bear.
Exactly. Effectively, every class can be an animal. It's exactly the same as the weapon restriction. Ultimately, being a bear is the same as having a mace, which may sound a little bit odd, but that is actually, how it works and what allows, having...
Whoa. I didn't even think about that. Wait, so you can use mace skills while in bear?
No. What I meant was that it's the same. I mean, it's the same in the sense that it's just a weapon type, right? Like,
right.
Yeah.
Damn it, now we have to make that possible.
Well, I mean, you can turn into Calm as a bear.
That's unique item territory for the future.
It often gets talked about, like, the idea of, like, why are things, like, so weapon locked? And I've always maintained the position that you guys want to kind of do that as much as possible initially, and then in the future you can blur the lines a little bit. Like, there's maybe in the future you're like, maybe this skill has a way of crossing over.
We can do, but the thing is, a lot of the identity of a weapon type really comes a lot from what it can do, and so that's the kind of the main reason why we do it that way. But but the thing is as well with the weapon swapping, I mean, you can still use skills from different elements. Different weapons and things like that.
The thing is, like, it's funny that you mentioned that with the bear, because, like, definitely some of the bears, I noticed parallels between some of its skills and some of the mace stuff, and I could see absolutely combining, like, this bear skill that places fishes with the other stuff on the mace that triggers the fishes. Like, there's, like, very obvious, like, cross synergy build.
Well, I mean, they're adjacent classes, right? I mean, you've got, like, strength versus strength int. Like, we want to be able to make sure that some of those key elements do, like, cross over, just so that to open up the way to have synergy between the different classes more easily.
Yeah. Well, as you get more classes and more skills, you obviously get an overlap of the kind of mechanics and keywords and stuff, iterating, and thus they will always cross-synergize. And where there still will be new things a class offers, yes, there's always going to be a bunch of stuff that they use that will then interact with all the other skills. So.
Yeah, and now you added plants and plants that grow from rain, and there's a plant keyword that has overgrown as a keyword.
Like, it's interesting actually, those ones, because they're on completely opposite sides of the tree. You've got dex versus strength int, and that's been a little bit hard to kind of like get the where the mechanic should go on one side versus the other. So where we ended up going is that the nature side of things for plants on the strength int is like you've got the poison on the dex side versus the kind of like just pure nature, like physical damage spells on the strength inside, but that's been fun though, because now it's actually been really fun designing the supports, because the more classes we have, the more we can start to think, okay, like, here's a support that's for something obscure. How can we make it so this can apply to some other kind of thing on the opposite side of the tree, where, like, now you've got some interesting interaction. So there could be some kind of like thing where growing plants as a ranger could be sort of something. I mean, like, I can't say I've tested the potential there myself, but, like, we made all of that work. All the plants can, like plant stuff all has mechanics around, like, watering the rangers' plants is like a thing. They all have ways that works.
I mean, that definitely opens up interesting party options in the future as well. Like, I do like the idea of being like a rainy druid watering.
It's a thing. It's easily a thing. It's not even hard to do as well.
Right.
It's kind of just like, thanks, druid, you buffed poison rangers. Yeah. Like, that's kind of just what happened.
Yeah.
Right, good, yes. And the rain buffing lightning skills as well, like increasing shock chance and stuff. It's pretty wild how much stuff you've just jammed into one class here. How did you, like, kind of settle on a identity for the wyvern in particular? I feel like people know what a bear is, people know what the wolf is, and even a lot of the, like, druid stuff is pre-established as, like, you've got plants, and you got, like, nature, and you got, like, lifting up the earth, that sort of stuff.
Well, we really wanted to have a third form that was a little bit out there in terms of different from what you'd seen in another game. I mean, obviously, like, every game that's got transformations has the bear and the wolf, right? That's just like the staple. But and actually, funnily enough, for that reason, we couldn't not do it. There was actually a period there where we weren't going to have a wolf because we were a little bit unhappy. Yeah, with us, and it's just like, well, exactly, right? That was the reaction. That was the reaction of, like, all the furries come out of the woodwork and, like, you gotta have a wolf.
How dare you?
Yeah, exactly, right? So we're like, okay, we'll have a yeah, exactly. Don't anger them. So that was a real concern. So we decided to go. We needed the two familiar, and then we needed one that was a little bit more out there. And really, when we were looking at the bear and the wolf, it was kind of like we want the slower, harder hitting. We want the faster and like speedy kind of version, obviously being the wolf. We also wanted something that had some range elements, and then a sort of more spellcastery vibe a little bit more. And so we sort of thought about it a little bit like, what animal is ranged? Like it's not really, there's like it's kind of not a lot out there that can really sort of do that. And so eventually we settled on the Wyvern. I mean, someone of course at one point was like, how about a dragon? And we're like, what the heck? What are you talking about? But then eventually I thought about it, and it's like, actually, you know what? There's some potential here.
If you suggested to me, I'd told you not to do it because like there's no way you could make it look good and not look stupid. But
it eventually worked. It was hard though. We did get there.
It actually looks pretty cool. But it's kind of a spell blade almost. Like it's got a bit of range stuff, but it's got a bit of like spell kind of melee things going on.
I mean, as it should be for Strength Int.
Yeah, and you were asking what the passive buffs were. I was looking at it before. It's like it's got buffs to freeze, shock, and energy regeneration actually, as well, like energy recharge, I think.
It's a shame you knew. The reason I was actually being vague is I knew what they were. I just wanted to change them.
Okay, I mean that's fine. Do something.
Sorry
cool.
for my slight disingenuousness.
Do something cool.
I kind of feel like they shouldn't. I didn't want them to be offensive benefits.
Yeah, they're supposed to be defensive.
It forces you into certain build types. Whereas like if they're utility or defensive, that way they will work across all board. That's my general philosophy. So I was like, I feel like I want to have a go at trying to design the energy shield thing. I don't mind. I wanted to have a go at designing stuff that's more utility or defensive only, and that way you don't feel like, I should have to play lightning or fire because it gets the passive benefits. Okay. That way, if you wanted to do a kind of weird out there thing, it doesn't feel so bad, but we'll see what I come up with.
Do you have an idea, or are you still figuring it out?
Nah, I got no clue. I don't know. You could play on the fact it's got like, wings to, something defensive for block or something for, hard carapace maybe, or... I don't know, the fact it has wings, something with the
so
wings,
much dragon lore to pull from. I got like a book that my daughter really likes to read that's like full of dragon lore. I'll send you some ideas.
All right, sweet, yeah. Dragon, they hoard gold, right? Gold find?
Yeah, totally.
That sounds like it.
Eat piles of gold for buffs or something.
There's gold over there. Quick, shapeshift, pick it up, shapeshift back. No, I'm obviously joking. Please, I'm not doing that.
Gold find, no, please don't. Mandatory dragon gold find build. I know it's kind of funny though. It's distinctly PoE. So the Druid is this like strength int class, and with the Templar we had the idea more of like you've got that armor energy shield stuff, but that's still the case here, as that's the strength int base. But I feel like the energy shield stuff is not as iconic to Druid. How have you incorporated that and made it feel like something that makes sense, or like in what ways have you incorporated that to the Druid? I feel like it's not obvious.
Is a little bit off in terms of the feel there, but at the end of the day, we kind of don't really have many options as far as what we can do. I mean, like that, it is important for it to be that it has that, like armor and energy shield approach. There's a few sort of interesting, what do you call them, spirit reservation gems. I don't know I can never remember what the official name of that is. That sort of interact with that stuff in a dual way. So there's like that bark skin thing that effectively allows you to take advantage of energy shield to generate armor. Like, so when you lose energy shield, you get armor instead, and like it like creates little bits of bark on your skin.
Cool.
As you there's like things like that we've added. But it's a little bit of a thematically weird thing. I think probably the weirdest part about that is like, you're gonna have energy shield as a bear. It's a bit strange, like getting hit as a bear and then there's a little energy shield pop. But I mean, it is what it is. It kind of has to be that way.
Well, you don't have to.
Well, I suppose, sure, you can go full armor if you want, but
I feel like because there's like such a range of identities within that one class as well, that you've got the bear maybe that doesn't really align as much with that. There's definitely more armor stuff.
Yeah, so you could build more strength when depending on what animal form you're playing, of course.
Yeah, whereas like the wyvern potentially has more of that kind of magical aspect to it, where that's
I mean, and that's why the wyvern itself does get the benefits to energy shield, and the bear does get the benefits to armor, in order to kind of make it so you are like, depending on what animal form you're going, there's a bit of alignment in the defenses there.
I mean, really, it's the tree that inspires and motivates this, right? Like a sorceress could be on the bottom side of the tree and still have the same skill set, and obviously the damage nodes are a bit weird, but it could work. There's nothing saying. I mean, that's part of the beauty of the game as well.
Yeah, I mean, I had that experience where I was like, because it wasn't as clear, I was almost inventing my own lore there a little bit, where I was speccing the regen from the Druid, and then the Zealot's Oath right there. I'm like, oh, this actually like, you're converting your natural kind of like life regen into energy shield. This is kind of the Druid's thing. Like,
yeah, I mean, that is a way for sure. Like, keystones certainly are pretty powerful, and we have a bunch of, I think there's an extra, I can't remember what it's doing. There's one that says do not translate on it, so it's in progress. But yeah, we were playing around with trying to have some armor energy shield, more hybrid stuff going on with the keystones there. It was based on, what's it called? PoE one's is it Divine Shield? Is that the name of the keystone? I can't remember. Too many names. But it's based on that, but not exactly the same, like a derivative of that we're trying to get going. But yeah, it's just because I was like, we need more keystones that I feel more druidy, and I know there's a rage one there that is embracing the animal ferocity, where it like what does it do? It's like doubles your maximum rage, but makes you don't get inherent bonuses from rage. So it's like if you really want to do the skills that are rage consumers, like rampage, and you just want to rampage for as much time as possible, you obviously go for that keystone. You lose the benefits of rage, but you get to rampage around for twice as long. Cool. So a few things like that we're trying to add that are thematic as well. And I think that's another one of the really cool parts about adding a class is 1/6 of our tree was just filled with just placeholder garbage. Like actually, like there is a giant link thing there. There's no links in the game really. It's like, what are we doing with that? It's like, and so I was like, well, that looked like a vine. Just make that a plant thing. And, so now it's a plant thing that talks about overgrown plants. And but we filled in that whole bit of the tree. And guess what? Now witches and sorceresses have more energy shield stuff on that kind of direction around towards the druid, and warrior has more, and and I don't just mean energy shield, I mean everything, all the mechanics, right? All the int mechanics are kind of there, the strength mechanics, everything. So
it is nice we finally have a class in every different part of this tree, so like we don't have this like weird open stuff anymore.
Yeah, that area of the tree was a little strange. I mean, it's such a massive tree already, and you're adding more to it, and then like I have to wonder, like, you added this oracle class. Like, I saw the shaman one, I was like, yes, this is exactly what I expected. But then I saw the oracle, and you guys had like 130 extra passives.
So far.
Like, why do you do this to yourself? Like, that seems ridiculous.
It's fun.
Because it's cool.
Okay.
Because it's cool.
That's really the best reason you could ask for, right?
Yeah.
I was like, I really went through, I mean, I know we showed 2 examples, but I was like, I really want to make sure there's like cool off-spec stuff here. I want to make sure that if you want to be able to get more of a certain thing, this is a way to do it. I mean, at the end of the day, it still costs passive points to allocate, right? So it's more about, maybe you want some stuff that normally you'd have to go to the deck section for and get, maybe some projectile related stuff, and now you can get it up there because it allows for some kind of weird off class. And it was all themed around, if you got to live your life again, what would you change? Like, what different paths would you take? And so it's this interesting, like,
it's an existential crisis as a node.
That fits PoE.
Right? Initially, I always write my little blurbs about them to get them in the live stream, and I was like, it's got all the passives not yet added to the game. I thought it was an interesting way of looking at it. Not that that's actually how it is, but I thought it was like a kind of, it's like lessons you learn, you get to now use in advance kind of. I thought it was just a cool thematic thing that linked to the class. And it's easy, by the way, as designers to see that kind of thing and go, we have a million things to do. Like, is that really, like, that's too much time, too much work, right? And I'm just like,
sad, isn't it?
If we say that about everything, you get nothing cool.
Yeah.
And so it's that, and I mean, even the shamans, like runes revealing hidden powers, like we're setting ourselves up for a large amount of cumulative time over a while, right? Any rune we add, anything, like we have to add and consider the shaman stats, and that's another whole axis of things. We have to meta balance every league, and same with the oracle passives. And every time we change the tree, and like when we eventually add the Templar, we're going to have to relocate all those nodes because that tree's going to get a giant. Now we've got 2.5 classes in one section, but it's worth it. It is actually worth it. You add so many builds, so many cool things, and if you don't want to deal with it, just pick another class. It's fine. You don't have to, or pick other nodes on the same class. You don't have to take that node. So
I think this like very clearly communicates that you're also okay with this idea of there being just like hidden cool stuff to discover that you're not going to know ahead of time, because you can't like look at the class options on the character selection screen and know what the passives are going to be that are hidden behind the oracle ascendancy, right? So it's like, yeah, that's cool, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's always going to be community tools, and they're going to come up with a way to make that, to the build guides and all that kind of stuff. So like,
I love the secret stuff. I actually got my secret Abyssal Lich.
Yeah, wild.
It was an actual final secret, and maybe there's more. Well, you want to do more of
that, don't you? I can tell. Look at him. He wants to do more.
Of course, I love it. I love people having cool secret things they can find, and it isn't just like 1000% pre-planned. out of the gate. Like, I understand the need to plan. I understand the need to have confidence in a build, and you don't want to go in and only realize you've made the wrong decisions and stuff like that, for sure. But I definitely want to find that balance where you have that while you also get your cool secrets that you get to add to the game that are fun.
Yeah. I think there's like a couple more chat questions on Druid, but we'll try and move on to the other stuff soon because I know people want to talk about the other thing. I could talk about Druid all day. I think the design's super interesting here. But some of the questions were that I think people are a bit confused about like the talismans and the forms and how that stuff works. So the talismans are effectively just like another weapon.
Yeah, exactly.
And things like attack speed, movement speed on gear and everything will affect you in your movement.
Absolutely.
Animal
Right.
forms. It's
Absolutely.
not like... I think because a lot of other games do it where when you change form, like all of a sudden, oh, your weapon's not affecting you or this thing's not affecting you.
Well, I mean, effectively, so we're doing the changing form by utilizing weapon swap. So you've got 2 weapon sets inherently, and the talisman effectively serves as your weapon. Like if you're playing a druid, you are going to have to learn how to use weapon specialization passives and stuff like that if you want to have the spellcaster and melee thing. Now, a lot of the passive tree nodes, like in the druid section of the tree, all have like attack and spell damage and that kind of stuff. So like certainly for most of the start of the class, you won't have to worry about it. But as you get deeper in, and if you want to do hybrid spell attack, you are going to have to think about like, okay, what are my attack passives, what are my spell passives, and do that.
I was actually surprised at how simple and straightforward it was to do. So like the weapon specialization tree thing, you still do need to think about and understand how that works. But the basics of it, like using the actual skills, just happens automatically. Like I didn't ever have to actually go in and
No. You don't have to worry about that part. Just because of the fact that because this has always been the rule, but it's really apparent here. Like if it'll swap to the weapon set that can use the ability, so therefore you don't have to actually tweak it. You just put it in and it kind of works.
If I tried to use my spell, it would shift to human automatically and use the staff. So like that was all automated, and I didn't have to like program anything like that.
Right.
Like I have on some other builds, I guess, where it's a bit.
But mostly that's just because you have get into a situation with those where because it's usable on both. Now you have to start going in there and tweaking that stuff. But because it makes it much simpler when you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, so there's a decent onboarding there, given the potential complexity of that. All right, so we'll move on now to the Fate of the Vaal expansion, and there's definitely more of a like clear divide between the two things, and you even actually made 2 separate trailers this time around.
Well, it would have been super weird to have these like 2 completely clashing themes in the trailer. So in the end we were like, normally of course we'd make one trailer with everything, but we're kind of like, man, it's really hard to unify these 2 things in a kind of reasonable way. So in the end we decided to go with 2 trailers and just like show the content completely separately.
They're not connected. Like they
not
don't
at all,
have to
right?
be, right?
Yeah,
Like,
they're not. Aside from both of them having a buttocks in it, they're not connected. That just happened.
Yeah, that was total accident, by the way. It was just like 2 totally unrelated.
Yes, sure. I was praising the equality of it.
Right.
I was great. There's buttocks for everyone here in this trailer. Excellent. Thank you. So this expansion is, and we saw this a little bit where you tried to work in the previous League mechanics into like story quest stuff, which I was super keen on. This expansion definitely feels much more deeply linked into the campaign and story, to the point where like Doriani's saying, go back in time and try and change these things that happened in the campaign. I was like, this feels like a major campaign story beat. On now.
There's a few things going on there. So like initially, this League, unlike I think what we've done too much of in the past, the storyline develops quite a lot more kind of like through the campaign with different events that happen and sort of link in a lot. And part of the reason originally for that is that one of the things we sort of don't like necessarily about what leagues do is like you've got this situation where you like walk out of town in like literally the first area, and it's like some eldritch entity is immediately recruiting your services. You know what I mean? Like it's actually very like unfortunate.
Put this rusty thing in your body.
Exactly right. So we kind of wanted to try and make sure that there's a little bit more like it doesn't feel like the world is on your shoulders like right from the get go. Like there's actually like a little bit a growth of epicness throughout the League. So like if we'd have had it so it's like you're time traveling into the past, like the moment you walk out the gate, it's like okay, it's just not quite right. So we decided what we'll do is we'll make so that there is the temple. We've got a kind of like almost a baby version of the mechanic where you've got a lesser number of rooms, like it's kind of a bit simpler, like to start out with. And then once you pass the sort of key point in the storyline, then it like really opens up. You go into the past. You've got a little more story stuff going on. It did add quite a lot more work to kind of have to make 2 versions of a bunch of things and that kind of stuff. But I think it is worth it because it means that it feels like the League has a lot more going on, it just doesn't kind of you don't break immediately the feeling of the world, which has been a problem in the past.
I have very strong opinions on this one. It's like dark horror gothic secondary 3 dimensions deep of like I'm in the past and or in some sort of demon realm now. I don't know what's going on here.
And I mean, it's fine as you go, but this is actually one of the challenges I think we're going to have just designing leagues generally, is that they're going to require a bit more work to make them feel right. I mean, even just something as simple as like the Vaal sacrifice circles that you get throughout the world. Normally what we would have done is like make one thing and call it a day. Here what we've done is we've got like 10 or more. It's a ton of variations of those, where for like each act we're like, and like for each area we're thinking like, okay, which like we need more of these so that we can use them so they feel natural in the place where they are, like do a bit of material reskin, stuff like that. Like that's kind of the stuff that we now need to do to sort of make it feel like you're not breaking
like
the world stuff.
The PoE1 style, betrayal basement. You just okay. So there's just a basement everywhere, like in the mud flats. Like, okay, that just doesn't fly anymore at all. So like we want to make sure that these things are way more believable.
Right.
Like you are actually convinced. You're like, this makes sense. I'm not just in a basement in the mud flat in a swamp. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the Vaal is a very distinct thing, and it's very like tied to Act 3 as well. So I was a bit worried about like the tone of Act 1 with the Vaal stuff, but then like it fits in reasonably well. Like you've definitely taken good care to make sure that it doesn't.
Well, I mean, it's a matter of making it feel like there's some ancient ruin that then later someone came along and like some Ezomites went in there and they built some stones around it because they're like, well, what is this thing? And like we just thought a little bit about like how would the culture here have reacted to the fact that there was this ancient ruin from long ago in this location and that kind of thing. Yeah, okay, interesting. And you mentioned to me that this is the bar for what you want to be doing. This is the quality level for what you want to be doing. So I'd say that like it does sort of I would say here, like the level of polish and the stuff that we're doing, like the amount of content that a league needs to actually be good. Like, obviously when we did 020, the league was a little bit like, it was just the Asmerian spirits. And like, I mean, it was a league, but it wasn't really, didn't have like the depth of content and stuff that you needed. And then with 030, I think we did a lot better. Like it came a lot better, but I still don't think we quite got there in terms of
like the PoE1 level kind of.
And then this one here, I think like you get up to the level of quality that we really want to be delivering in PoE2, like post release and everything, and like the kind of the amount of content you need for a league. Like it needs to be quite sizable and good, and it did take a lot of effort, but I think it's worth it because it sort of shows you what we can do when we. I was gonna say that's like a high bar that you've effectively kind of like locked in committing to for expansions. Well, hopefully I don't come to regret it, but it's and honestly the scope did explode a little bit because when we I think that. One of the things, so when I initially designed the league, I was kind of like, okay, we're going to have like some limited number of rooms. We kind of spec'd it out, and like and each one will have a few levels, and it kind of didn't seem like it was that large. But really, in the context of PoE2, it's like, well, if you're going to spend effort to upgrade a room, it needs to feel meaningfully different and have meaningfully better rewards and all that stuff. And it pretty soon expands into like a really huge list of like different combat encounter mechanics and different like crafting mechanics and different rewards and everything. Like there are so many new rewards and things in just in the temple. It's crazy. There's a lot there. Like certainly the number of expanded crafting options and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. I mean, we could take some inspiration from what PoE1 did with Incursion, in terms of double crops and stuff, but we had to make it work in a PoE2 context. There's just a lot there.
Yeah, I've followed your progress with designing this one from the very beginning. Yeah,
the funny thing is about that is that it actually came from a game that you recommended that I play.
I wasn't going to even say
it. So you recommended that I play this game called Loop Hero, and I really enjoyed it. Then everyone's going to think that the game we're inspired by is Blueprints, but it actually wasn't. It was Loop Hero.
It was so good because I told you about that game, and then it was like a week later or something, you sent me a message like, "Hey, I've made this little program."
Yeah. So I prototyped up like a thing that for what would become the UI for Incursion. We actually ended up. It's funny because this is like the first league I've actually personally done code on in like quite a long time.
You really got into it.
Yeah. Because it was a real fun, just like evening thing to like go and just like work on this design. And one of the great things about doing that is that I got to make so many design changes just in the course of of writing it, like which I don't think necessarily would have gone exactly the same way if I was getting other people to do it. So yeah, that was really fun. And just make and then effectively the back of it is like the code that I wrote, but obviously the UI of it is like a whole thing that a bunch of other people worked on and made look really awesome. But that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, what is it like about this one that grabbed you so much? Because you got so involved and so personally, like working on it at home.
Yeah, I just really enjoy this kind of like little game within a game, like little metagame things. And just that dungeon design thing is just a really fun thing for me.
Tile placing.
Yeah,
is good, right?
it's always it's really fun.
Love a good tile place.
You know, and I just like coming up with all little ways that they can interact and that kind of thing, and you know, try to make each feel a bit different and that kind of stuff. It's just a good time.
Yeah, and it's got this like iterative design where you're building a temple, you run it like it's a really small one at first, and then it crumbles a bit, but you're still kind of building on what you're doing each time. Yeah. It's like a weird kind of like roguelike-y thing without being a roguelike itself.
Yeah,
exactly. So with that design then, I'm curious, like does it like fully reset at some point? Like for example, when you kill Atzeri or
it never fully resets, but when you kill Atzeri or defeat an architect, quite a lot of the temple gets destroyed. So there's this kind of destabilization thing. It goes back to not the start, but kind of I think it removes like 2/3 of the rooms. There's some number like that it gets rid of at that point, and then you kind of have to build up again. That's just that effectively means that like when you do those options, you're getting like new reward rooms and things to play. So it's giving you new goals, and then you have to work towards those goals again. And then ideally, those reward rooms can be rewarding enough that the benefit of going back to smaller is or I'd say the negative of going back to smaller is completely outweighed by the benefits you're getting from the extra rooms that you're able to place.
So you can juice it a fair bit too.
You can, yeah.
There's a lot of like modifiers that are getting added on by each room, and you can place quite a lot of them.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Do you foresee people building out like a huge temple and then kind of not having it decay as much as possible?
Yeah,
like
I mean,
Atzeri?
It's absolutely intended that you'll do that. I mean, once you've defeated Atzeri enough times, you've got the uniques from there, and you've done like other things like that. Then you absolutely will like probably want like for ultra end game play when you really want like the most challenging stuff, and you're just like looking to get like as many double corrupts as you can and stuff like that. You're probably going to want to keep the temple large and specifically not do the stuff that would cause it to destabilize, because if you don't kill the architect and you don't kill Atzeri, then it will it'll only pull you back. I can't remember the exact number of rooms, but there's some number of rooms that go away when it's quite full, and then you can just juice it really high and have really challenging in-game scaling tier of stuff. Because one of the things we were sort of concerned about is that there is some in-game content that just doesn't really scale as hard as it needs to scale in order to make it properly in-game viable.
Yeah,
we wanted to make sure that this was not the case here, that it actually does scale enough into the in-game.
Okay, so like designed to be pretty farmable and to be pretty late game relevant.
Of course, yeah.
It gets pretty hectic with all those mods.
Yeah.
With how many rooms are on there and like.
Yeah. But also just other things that you want to do, like so for example at the start of the game, you can only you can't like store up temple runs, as it were. As you get into the game, then now we start to have it so that you can store up more runs, so that you can like map for a while, then like do a bunch of incursions.
I think we have it that eventually you can do 60 maps and then temples, and then 60 maps, then temples.
If you want. So
or you can do 6, then a temple, then 6, then a temple.
So you can effectively store 10
anywhere
runs,
in between.
10 runs
nice.
If you want.
I feel like with these things, like now I keep seeing like, you guys have thought of it. The
thing is that we've got so much experience and stuff. I mean, like so for example, the whole like taking the currency away from the temple instead of having to craft inside the temple thing.
Yes.
Like that's just a hard learned lesson from PoE 1 where you just need to.
You say we thought of it, and I have, because I'm just going to bring it up. But like, and a thing about, and this is something that I'm on the fence about a little bit. Personally, but the thing with the killing architect and Atzeri, destroying a bunch of the temple, creating that clash of either farm temple or farm boss, can be quite a divisive thing for people.
Right.
You're looking at Betrayal Katarina, right? And the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we've now on PoE 1, we separated those two things so they're not, because it always felt bad doing one or the other. Or it could feel bad doing one or the other, depending on how the balance went. And so you might get a similar thing here. Now, of course, the amount of the temple that can get destroyed is variable, and there's a bunch of stuff we can obviously tweak. But yeah, like getting that right and feeling right will be important. It's honestly hard to say if it is right now. But it's a thing, we say we've thought about it, but it can be very easy to see that and be like, hey, they're doing the same mistake they've made last time. Which, you're not wrong. Except depending on honestly having the lever this time in place of how much gets destroyed instead of entire board reset kind of thing. We get to control that a lot better and iterate on that if we need to. So
yeah, that's true.
We've thought about it, but it can. I could see, because I was just thinking about it, going, I reckon people are going to get mad at this. And I was just looking at it, going like, the idea that it's like, hold on, I can't farm the bosses. I either have to pick bosses or pick temple. It can be quite bad.
Well, so yeah, that's clear then that you've kind of already got your hand hovering over the lever waiting to like adjust it as needed.
Yeah, and it's honestly kind of hard to know with, I mean, even if you, again,
The thing with this sort of stuff specifically is you're talking about that's the type of gameplay that is hard to test internally.
Yeah.
Because how can you do just like you can't really test like what is weeks of grinding gonna feel like, you know? It's yeah.
So I expect us to maybe we hit the sweet spot. Who knows? Hopefully. But I could imagine that this is a thing that gets adjusted for sure.
Yeah, so you've made the like the ability to sell like the corruptions, the double corruptions as an itemizable thing you can just take away and sell. Is there any reason to like itemize the temple like we did in PoE1?
Nah, so that was really more of a band-aid solution in PoE1 because we didn't have an easy way to change that. Like I'd prefer that the temple is your temple and that you don't sell them, but just that all the rewards are the things that you can trade. Like trading the rewards was the reason why I did our temple itemization in the first place. Just if this time we're just making sure to design the stuff in a way that can, you know, be take back that you can take with you.
No need for the band-aid in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
There's some really basic crafts that, like, you know, your classic exalted orbs and stuff like that. Mostly, honestly, in the campaign.
Yeah.
And this is so when you're doing the temple, you're getting not just the opportunity, like, because obviously some of that double corrupt stuff, you're not going to do that at like level 8, you know. I mean, Vaal orbs aren't even in the game at that point. Yeah. So you have this thing where it's like, well, you don't get a lot of the crafting. Now, there are still rewards. There is, of course, all of that, but there's also just basic crafts like exalts and regals and stuff you can just throw on your gear. Now, you can't take those, and that is an intentional decision so that you feel like you're actually wanting to use it on your gear in the campaign and as you're progressing. Yeah. And you're not, because if you can take it, most of the time you're just going to hoard it for endgame.
Right. So it's those things to make the early game have more crafting stuff that you want to just use right there.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, what stops you from just like keeping your results until end game?
Yeah.
You want to use those patches then.
You'll see those and go, I want to take that home, but just use it.
Yeah.
You know?
It was a substantial buff to campaign crafting from my experience of messing with it so far. It's like you basically go in and there's like 6 crafting rooms and you're like just going a little crafting spree of like upgrading your gear. Like,
I mean, the temple, we it's funny because there's always the question whenever we make a league of like, well, what if people always say, oh, there's no reason to do this during the campaign. And it's like, we really have to incentivize that to make it so that, no, there's actually worth doing. Like, you're going to get a substantial power boost if you decide to engage with the league.
Yeah, it seems like you can kind of like hold off as well. Like, you can be like, oh, my gear's kind of okay now. I'm going to do that a little bit later.
You always want it to be both feeling rewarding and give you, obviously, an advantage, and also not feel so mandatory that you're like, ugh, what the fuck?
It felt like kind of a bit optional in the sense that like, oh, I really need some gear upgrades now. Let's go into the temple and spice up all my gear.
Perfect.
Nice.
That's what we want.
Yeah, cool. And it is interesting that you've got this like raiding the broken down version of the temple in the beginning, and then it basically changes into this whole other thing halfway through the campaign. That's story beat there.
The other thing about the campaign thing is the same thing we learnt from Abyss, where we did the area specific rewards throughout the campaign. We have also dropping here from the in-world encounters.
Yeah.
So even if you're not doing the temples, doing the in-world encounters can give you that extra drop per area.
It seems like on the back end, maybe you've kind of taken what Abyss was doing and almost shifted it over.
Yeah. There's some modifications, but it's the same kind of thing.
Well, we've effectively got our, allocated amount of rewards and crafting and stuff for what a league is allowed to do and should do. And we're just trying to make sure that, it fulfills that it fills that budget, so to speak. Of
you're getting a lesser jewels or bin keth or something like that, kind of similar to before, which is good. But yeah, I was definitely, that was a huge thing with Abyss. I thought that was like a really good improvement to campaign, so it's good to see continuing with that. Then it felt pretty successful as a design decision. Nice. I'm really glad double corruption is back. I feel like that's a great thing from PoE1 to be returning.
One thing we've changed here is that because double corrupt existed in PoE1, you never Vaal orb gear. Well, I don't say never. Obviously, there are still cases, but generally speaking, why single corrupt it to when you could double corrupt it? So we've made sure here that the double corrupt has to occur on top of a corrupted item.
That's cool.
Right.
So you have to Vaal orbs land it, and then you have to land the double corrupt on top of that.
Oh man, it almost feels like you're in some cases risking something even more, because like you've got that really high end unique with like a really good corruption already, and now you're risking that. You're not just risking a blank item on a double corruption. So like it's a heftier risk now in some cases.
I like it.
That's the Vaal spirit right there.
Like, oh man, this thing's already worth many divines at this point. I was like, oh no.
Some good streamer moments. So.
So you actually have to though, like it has to be crafted.
Yep, so you craft first and then you can apply the double craft.
Okay, cool. It keeps the usefulness of the Vaal orbs there as well. To kind of
I didn't want the Vaal orbs to just. I mean, you'd still use them on like waystones or whatever, but I didn't want them to just be like never used on gear anymore because you'd rather just double corrupt it. And so it was a suggestion a developer made a while back, and I was like, that's immediately a win, and I almost want to change that in PoE1 as well, but then I just forgot about it, and, to be honest. So, I'm not sure if I do want to do that just before everyone maybe goes like, what the hell? No. But,
consider it.
I like the idea, and I think it is an overall improvement,
Yeah, it sounds like a great idea. And then you've got this whole other system now, which you had a little bit of in PoE1 recently where you can corrupt uniques and it replaces a random modifier on them.
Yes.
So this is limited to specifically Adziri. No, what
not Adziri, Vaal uniques. Yeah, so I really wanted to make it so you could just replace arbitrary mods on any unique. But the problem is, it was just a can of worms that was just not even possible to contain. Basically what we were like, okay, is there still a way to do this that's like not going to be quite so crazy? And then we were like, okay, if we can pick a subset of uniques, and we ended up going with Vaal uniques, for obviously thematic reasons, then we can sort of make sure that like while it's still crazy, like there's still some insane interactions, we can kind of at least have somewhat of an understanding of what happens. But it does truly work where like it picks a random mod that's on the item and then replaces it with another random mod. So you can create some. You
can use it on non-Vaal. It works differently.
Huh?
I don't know. This is news to me. I didn't actually know that. What is that?
Excuse me?
I think it's similar to Ancient Orb in PoE1. So it like re-rolls it. The idea here is like it's meant to work on these Vaal items because they've been like
incompatible item
infused with royal bloodline blood, and so it's like the way it works on Vaal uniques is different to just random uniques. Where it's like, hold on, it works a bit more chaotically here, and just changes the item entirely to something else on non-Vaal. So, and I only say that because obviously it's pretty bad to be like, I have to have a Vaal unique in order to use this. Now, no, you can take the currency home, so that's never the end of the world. But I want it to be like, just go grab some random unique and re-roll it. Using it on the Vaal uniques is like quite cool. Right now, I'm trying to make sure, a process that we've been doing is that we're not just replacing it with kind of just some random basic stuff. Like that will happen. That is a part of the pool, but we're trying to go through because we have a more limited set of uniques we have to actually do the mod replacement on. I want to make sure we're actually thinking about, for example, the Zerfi's body armor that has like Soul Leader, and it's like a level 39 base type.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, this is a tool we could use to make that more in-game viable. And so you can do things like heavily increase the defenses, because obviously level 39 versus a level 75 base type or whatever is going to have very different defenses. But then you can also be like, what about if I was like, what other weaknesses does this item have? Well, you can't generate Soul Leader stacks on a boss. Maybe this can turn that on, and so all of a sudden you can replace, I don't know, the life regeneration rate with a Soul Leader now generates once per second while a boss is in your presence or something like that, Now, these are kind of examples, but that was a specific one that I really wanted to do. So, but then I was like, I don't know, what if you did plus 25 Soul Leader stacks and stuff? But it's like very specific outcomes, very specific to that unique.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do a bit of that to use it as an opportunity to be able to save low-level uniques, if you know what I mean, to make them more in-game viable. And I thought that was a cool way. And obviously that's restricted to the Vaal pool for now, but like, if it works and works successfully, there's no reason that like some other mechanic can't do it for Ezomite uniques and other,
now,
So, we'll see how it goes, but I'm hoping now, obviously, because I don't know how far through we'll get with all of these specific, because it's like a lot of stuff. Once you start doing specific things for specific uniques,
there's so many
it's
things.
A lot of stuff to implement. So I don't know how far, but I was like, let's start with the mythic uniques, the rarest, most powerful ones, and we'll work backwards, getting to the more common, ones at the end.
I mean, you've also got the general like buffing of a bunch of other uniques as well, right? I mean, there's a lot of that.
Yes, true. And I mean, that was part of that when I was like, okay, how can we buff this? How can we buff this? How can we buff this? And then I was like, well, a lot of them are like, this is too low level. And I was like, well, we have this system in the league. So yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes, hopefully, and it's the kind of thing where even if we don't, obviously these leagues end up often going core in some various means, so if we don't hit the mark entirely with all the uniques, I'd like to eventually get there where we have a good, cool, really thought out set for literally every Vaal unique. So hopefully that's fun. And then you do the cool things. You just get these really, really... I assume you're going to get some that have these... You replace the exact 2 bad sides with the exact 2... Because you can replace more than one sometimes.
Oh.
And you get the
Okay.
you get the exact, like, holy, this unique just went from being worth, something 1 divine to 300 divine, kind of territory. So hopefully that happens. If it doesn't happen, I'll be a bit sad. But we'll try. You can never know with these things for sure.
And this includes the new, like, Adzira uniques that she's dropping then, obviously,
Yep.
since she's kind of the queen of the Vaal.
Yep,
isn't it?
Zero uniques, Trial Master uniques, a bunch of stuff. So
It's a fair few there then. Is that something that you anticipate expanding upon in the future then? Like,
I mean, we'll be always adding more Vaal uniques.
Right.
So yes,
But in terms of for other cultures, that would probably come in a different form, in
Yeah.
a different league mechanic or some other place like that.
yeah, that makes sense for
Yeah.
sure.
In terms of the overall idea of upgrading low level uniques.
Yeah. Did you ever discuss the idea of Vaal skill gems? It feels like weird to add that when you're still adding regular
Yeah,
gems. I
it
imagine.
doesn't quite. So, I mean, fundamentally, what a Vaal skill gem is in PoE 1 is like a kind of ultimate type style ability in some
Yeah.
sense, So it's like we're kind of doing that in our
You're already
normal
doing it,
gems at this
yeah.
point. So it didn't really quite make sense to do it here.
it's like the glory on the
Yeah,
skills
glory
is kind of Vaal
like
souls.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I figured. That it's kind of like you'd only be really doing it for nostalgia value
right.
at this point, I think.
Now that isn't to say there won't be something in the future, but I agree that doing something like that when you haven't even got,
Yeah.
all the classes and skills in place and all that, I would say that's like a post-release feature, not
yeah.
a pre-release feature kind of thing.
Yeah. And are you still kind of with challenge leagues planning on having things like challenges, challenge rewards, etc. Post launch?
So the plan for that was post launch. Like
Yeah.
it basically was kind of like during early access, it doesn't quite make sense to do that. But post launch we'll return to that again.
All right, shifting onto the topic of Endgame, but first, just a brief detour. Trial of the Ancestors, or the mystery content in the new act, and our third means of ascending. What's the progress like? On that? It's
Well, we don't have
obviously
anything to say
not
at the
happening
moment, but it'll need to come obviously at some point. But we didn't have time in this one certainly to work on that.
It
Yeah.
keeps coming up. It is really just a matter of when, at what cost, etc. The classic, just resource distribution kind of things where it's like, when are we going to do it, and what, instead of this, and we have all these different ideas, and so but right now, nothing.
All right. So on Endgame, firstly, thanks for nerfing the Delirium Fog.
Yeah.
You saw the memes, I guess.
For sure.
So I've been enjoying all the foggy memes everywhere. That's good. Visibility improvement for the Endgame, but not only that, you guys didn't just tone down the fog. You've done some pretty major things with the
So I mean,
Waystone system.
I mean, the very first question, and before we even toned down the fog, the first question was, okay, well, why do you feel like you have to run every map this way in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Like the fact that something feels mandatory is already a problem, regardless of the
Yeah.
fact that the effect is also annoying, So that was the first thing to solve, and it really then started coming into, okay, well, how people are finding Waystone crafting more annoying. We only made it more annoying in Abyss with the having to go somewhere else and get it, it just made it not particularly great. The first question is, well, how can we fix this problem, right? And effectively we were kind of like, we can go 2 ways with this. We can either make it so that every league has something that feels mandatory that multiplies with the rewards, or we can say no leagues do. In which case, it's more about which league do you want to run for different for various different content that they can provide. So we decided to go with no leagues do, because I think that it's probably just less busy work, less annoying. If every league gave you something that you needed to craft and do something with, it just would have been a pain. Which is why even in the live stream we're from this point on, just like Waystones, they all get regular. They'll have the regular crafting with just regular base currency, but we're never going to add to them again a thing that requires you to do more crafting than that. Another layer of that, because I think that having to do that every map is too frequent. Doing it on the tablets means that it's just way less frequent that you have to do these things, which helps a lot. And then, of course, the question was, well, how can we make sure that we're not doing a nerf to overall juicing potential here? So then we had to look into, how can we get back the, the power you had? So that's when we got into the extra mods on tablets and things like that, in order to sort that out.
Now, obviously, you were hoping to do more Endgame for this expansion. So what's kind of happened with the
Well, I guess the sort of two things that we see as like the major problems in Endgame. One of them is when you get there, it can feel like you don't really have a proper goal. Like you don't have an immediate like, okay, here's a quest to do this and a quest to do that and that kind of stuff. So there's like a little bit of that missing. And that really is a content thing that just requires us to expand upon what a league is. Now, something like something like Fate of the Vaal, it immediately has story stuff to do and so on. So when that goes to endgame later, you'll have like storyline things sort of built in a way that can like make it so you've got that. But the other leagues don't have that as much, so we need to really make sure we're expanding on those. But the other thing as well is the Atlas tree just needs a lot more love and attention and like the way that it works and all that sort of stuff. So we just need to do a lot more there.
I opened that tree yesterday and I was like, oh, this sucks.
It's a little tragic. Yeah.
It sucks.
Like so. But the thing is that in order to make it good, you have to spend a lot of time and attention making new notables that are cool, that require like actually modify things in cool ways and like actually really meaningfully do something, and that's just a lot of time and work to do that. So
do you have an idea for what you want to do with the ascendancy tree side of things? Like, is it kind of angling more towards what you've done in public?
Well,
it's been pretty successful.
Well, I don't think we should be talking about that yet, just because that'll be it's more for later. But yeah, I mean, there's things we want to do.
Yeah,
there's stuff we want to do.
We're
unhappy with it.
a bit of trying not to spoil anything here. We obviously are spoiling the fact we are doing something. And I'll tell you, it's not even. It's not the same. It's not similar. It's like it's in a whole different universe. So it's kind of like, which makes it a little bit hard because obviously we're in this state where we want feedback about the end game.
Yeah, it's
and so I do want to put like people should keep giving feedback because I don't want people to think they're reworking it in game anyway, so I'm not going to say anything just in case. You never know.
There's
and
also different parts of the end game that kind of are like independent of the just things like how the Atlas tree works.
Yep.
So
but yes, that tree is effectively going to be completely reinvented. So that will get a full drastic change, and then the something that like PoE 1 with the whole complete your atlas being a very clear, very obvious goal. Right. You just complete all the maps and you get your atlas is complete. And then there's heaps more beyond that, of course. There's all the boss farming and all the different progressions and even that has like multiple quests throughout the main quest line with the different pinnacles and all that. We just don't have any of that really. It's just immediately into this infinite unguided adventure. And there's a little bit of things with the corrupted zones and bit of that and like, the burning monolith but it's still mostly unguided. You don't really feel like you have like, I've completed the main thing. Now I'm going to farm, at the moment. It's pretty unsatisfying, I'd say. So really trying to drive that home. And then the other thing that's honestly, we spoke about upgrading the leagues and adding more bosses is like, that whole like having King in the Mists and Olroth as the pinnacle bosses of the leagues, just being like copy pastes from PoE 1 was not our end goal. You know what I mean? Like they're a bit sad as pinnacles right now, and like honestly we need to up the epic a lot. So we've got a lot of that coming, and then just general upgrades to all the leagues. Like some of them are too, Ritual has the whole omens are too good, and others are just like, well, why would I do this? And there's a bit of that going on. So just a general balance and via adding more content and different axes and all kinds of stuff. So there's heaps coming. But based on all that, to answer the original, is that's how you can see how it didn't make the cut, because it is a ton of work. It turned out to be way more than we had anticipated, and it was just like, oh, damn, we kind of talked about wanting to do an in-game upgrade, a big revamp in 040, and now we've got too much work, and we still believe it's the right thing to do, so we're going to commit. And normally we often get faced with the option: do we cut it down to make it fit, or do we commit to it all and do it? And I don't think in this case we could have cut anything without kind of just honestly making it look half-assed, to be honest. So we were like, no, we need to do it all, which means unfortunately, yes, it's not going to make 040. But then we were like, well, we can't just now do nothing. So what can we do? Well, obviously we're not just going to be like, because we're doing an 050, we'll just leave the fog alone.
Yeah.
Obviously bad, which was a bug, by the way.
Really?
All fogs, like the volumetric fogs in the game, have a cutout around the player.
Yeah.
That like cuts out and then tapers off. and all fogs in the games, there's multiple different fogs, had it except for Delirium Fog. It was the only fog that didn't have this. So that was well, like, we can start there by re-adding it, and then we'll iterate until we feel like it's about right. But yeah, kind of sad when you look into these things and you're like, oh damn. Oops. It was just broken the whole time. But either way, like, you know, a player doesn't know if it's broken or just intended. So obviously, fixing it is the important thing. But yeah, I know there's that guy on Reddit doing a post every day, and
they can finally rest.
Thank you for your service.
Your watch is complete. Yes, we can actually see the ground. It was just hilarious in some maps, whereas like they have holes in the ground and like there's so much fog you actually can't tell where the holes are. It's like I can't move anywhere. It looked a lot better from the footage, so it's a big improvement for sure. So you mentioned that, but there was also another kind of key change that you wanted to make sure to get in this one, and that was the kind of like monster density getting swarmed issue.
Yeah, that's a very interesting one because so when we were doing 031, this was actually already a thing that we were tabling and talking about. We kind of thought that players probably wouldn't like it because the like monster density can be a very touchy thing, right? But the funny thing is what we found was that even after we what we actually sort of heard more was like, oh, we actually liked what the improvements were early in game, and we actually would wish that the rest of the in-game was more like that. And we're like, okay, well, if that's the case, then like the main thing we have to do is not like nerf rewards, make sure that experience gain doesn't get lowered or anything like that. But overall, we don't necessarily need as many monsters as what we were having in the top. And I think this is actually going to also just generally improve things because it makes when monsters have more life like that, it makes more builds viable. Because like there's obviously a point where like once you can one hit everything, then there's no point in like you might as well just go for whatever the fastest thing that could do that is, right?
Yeah, the lightning speed.
Right. So effectively, by making it so that monster life's a little bit higher as you get up there, it sort of actually means that like higher damage builds become more useful.
The need for having to target so many enemies goes down.
Exactly,
and thus
right.
You aren't just now funneled into so the highest AoE thing possible.
So it means that like things that are less AoE focused and more like, I mean, obviously you're still going to want AoE, you're still going to want to be clearing like that sort of stuff, of course. Yeah. But like effectively, just by tweaking it down a bit, you just don't have the like so much need for everything to target quite so many things. And so the sort of higher damage skills that are a bit less like not like more than a screen in size can actually be viable. And that should hopefully improve the situation there.
I want to make sure that even if people are like, but I prefer the swarminess, and it was fun for my build. And the thing is, like, that, speaking of, like, Atlas Tree, that's a thing where the Atlas Tree should be the thing thing that you can, it's like your build can do that. Yeah. So, like, I want to make sure, like, for now, not doing it, but I wanted to do a thing, because we're doing this whole, like, monster effectiveness goes up more, right? I mean, it's a pretty hard thing to understand because monsters just get stronger with higher levels, so like it kind of just happens. You don't really, it's not like a thing you need to worry about or anything of the sort. But I want to do a thing where you can spec into making, like on the Atlas Tree, I guess this is a little bit of a forward spoiler, but we're adding a little bit of it in a few places, but I want to make sure that you can invest into making monsters tougher without increasing the number of monsters, where like often it's just been pack size, and stuff like that. So but then I would love to do a thing later where like you can convert that effectiveness increases you can get into like pack size. So it's like, you know what? Nah, I want the swarmy, weaker monsters thing. And I don't want one at that point you can make sure the conversion results in the exact same amount of drops and XP and all of that stuff.
That way you can incentivize. Well, you don't incentivize one or the other, right? Like it's more about what your build is, what you'd prefer, rather than being like everyone has to have most pack sizes possible.
Whereas right now, pack size is just a straight up multiplicative drops XP scaler. I mean, obviously not for rares and bosses, but it is, and for a lot of people, it's a multiplicative fun scaler, and I don't want to take that away. Like I want people to be able to do that, but that's what the Atlas Tree should be able to achieve. However, it is too chaotic at a base level.
Right.
You get this weird thing where it's like the campaign has a entirely different vibe to the end of the endgame now, where it's like you step into the endgame, it's kind of and then you get towards the end. I mean, at the start, for people who didn't play 031 onwards, it was just like, oh, okay, I'm going through the campaign. It feels a bit more tactical, feels a bit more, intention. My actions are more intentional. And then I get into Endgame, I'm like, what the heck is going on? There's monsters everywhere. It's out of control. And so obviously 031 alleviated this a bit, but I don't want it to be that there's this feeling of there's two games there. I want it to be that you build that extra layer, that you change it through your Atlas tree and through decisions you make for the end game, as opposed to it just being inherent. So if you want to, we're going to make sure that we try and keep it that if you want to make it more swarmy and that kind of stuff, you can, but it doesn't give you a drop advantage necessarily over the tougher monsters. There are reasons to do both. That's fine. Okay. There'll be heaps of mechanics and stuff, but like, ideally, you can kind of play the game you want to play the game. And so in our tree and our builds, much like you can play the character how you want to play your character, we can do that with the end game as well. And that's the beauty of the Atlas tree, and the keystones and stuff like that. So, but I can't. It's hard to get into more of that without getting into kind of spoiler territory.
That's interesting to hear that you want to kind of make things a little bit less binary, where like in the past it often has been the case where it's just like, oh, you just stack as much of all of the things you can stack, or it's just stack as much pack size or stack as much rarity as you can, but maybe having angles for both of those things, like I'm juicing pack size, or I'm juicing difficulty and rarity with. I mean, that's exciting to me because I like the ability of being able to spec content that rewards your character that has low AoE, that is like really good at like dueling really tough rare monsters. And like, we did get to see a little bit of that in Period 1 where there was different strategies for juicing, where like you had like Titanic Scarabs or something that was making like really strong rogue exiles, and that took a specific sort of build to do. So it sounds like that's kind of the direction you want to head with that, which is pretty exciting to hear. And kind of tying into this topic then, and you touched on it a little bit, was like, there's definitely been, like, it's been noticed that rare monsters seem to drop the vast majority of loot in endgame maps, or at least compared to normal and magic monsters. There's a bigger difference, I guess, than has been the case in the past. And where are you guys at with, like, noticing or feeling that, or what problems do you foresee with that? It gets talked about a lot.
I don't think it's necessarily wrong that it's like that. One of the things we really want to try to make sure of in PoE 2 when we're sort of doing a sort of from scratch pass on this is that the amount of rewardingness of something is equivalent to the amount of difficulty that it takes to kill it. And that's kind of where like we're trying to normalize that, because by doing that, it means that we can try to get like we don't want a situation where like some content just is randomly just way more rewarding than other content. And so we're trying to just make sure that we're keeping tabs on that really well. And what that's kind of ended up with regard to the magic versus rare is, like we've got the balance of that, where it should in an ideal world be the case that like, killing a rare versus killing a white monster is, does in fact drop the correct amount of rewards relative to each other. Now the issue can come with the fact is, what if your build can one hit either of them in any case? Well, so that kind of like changes, I guess, the way that feels a little bit. So, but as I said, it should be the case that rares drop more than white monsters, and white monsters can drop anything still. It's just,
it does make a certain amount of sense, but I guess like with what you were talking about, Mark, it seems like something you'll have to think about, because like if you want both strategies to be viable, like the pack size juicing, then there needs to be a reward, a payoff to that ultimately.
100%.
So that's something you'll be looking at then.
But I mean, as far as I'm aware, it really is the case that if you looked at entirely just around the life of the entity, the drops should be pretty equivalent to the amount of life that they had to, in order to kill them, as far as like, relative to each other. So if it's got 5 times as much life, it does 5 times as many more drops effectively. Like that's kind of what we're shooting for when we're trying to balance this stuff.
Yeah, I think with the balance of how things are and the options we have now, it probably makes sense. But yeah, it looks like something you'll be keeping close eye on moving forwards then.
For sure.
There's a bit of a parallel with one of the kind of issues I see in Path of Exile 1, where like everything is in reward icons, the little floating symbols. And that seems like something you're trying to avoid moving forward.
We haven't really been doing that for a little while now. There was certainly a period there in PoE 1 design where it was like every single league was just like those reward icon type things, and it ended up really beiging the rewards a lot, because you just had this thing of like, every league drops, every other league's drops, and it kind of didn't really, like it wasn't really that great. So I mean, it's going to be a little while since we've done that stuff in PoE 1 even, and in PoE 2 we kind of steer away from it to make sure that like, everything feels like it's got distinct drops and a reason to do it and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it appears in some regards. Like, for example, when you get the reward rooms in Fate of the Vaal, you have a unique item room.
Sure.
Yep.
But it's not just like a floating symbol above the monster.
Right.
Yeah.
Which also, immersively, I don't know what the heck that is, but what is it? Is some It's just nothing. It's a clear and just obvious game
I
mechanic.
see some like floating, glowing cash money dollar bills above your head. Guy's loaded.
Whoa. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. And, you can't have my loot. But I just remembered you spoke about rare monsters, and I was like, hold on, did we? I don't think we deployed or spoke about this change, but I know that taking away all the rare minimap icons was a bit anger-inducing. Because honestly, we knew it. We knew it was going to be.
Yeah.
Now, they aren't a requirement of the map, but as you're saying, they kind of drop a lot of the loot, and people were just doing the whole minimap, coasting between minimap icons. The middle ground we've come to here, which I think is quite cool, is once you've activated all the checkpoints in the map, which sometimes is 4, 2, the things for fast traveling and respawning, then all of the things
appear on the
minimap.
The funny thing is I thought we already deployed that.
I don't think we have.
Okay, right.
That's what I was just remembering.
We intended to deploy that back when people were complaining about it, and I feel like maybe we just kind of forgot. But that was implemented a while ago.
Play your map. You generally find the checkpoints. If you're in a straight line map, there's one at the start, one at the end.
Yeah.
How the heck are you missing rares? Anyway, I don't know, but it can happen. Yeah. But it doesn't just reveal the rares; it reveals everything. Every icon.
Yeah.
So strongboxes you missed, rogue exiles you missed.
Okay.
Just so basically you can find if there's any content that you still wanted to grab.
Now some people might argue, well, hold on, I'm just going to run around the entire map activating them all and then go clear. And I was like, well, okay, if you want to waste time.
Right. But you're going to clear the map while you're doing that, right? So you probably clear the whole map anyway.
Yeah, so it's kind of just meant to be a like, look, you've explored at least, I mean, like, if there's generally speaking, if you've got like a big square or circle map, you're going to have 4 checkpoints. Mm-hmm. You activate all 4. You've at least explored probably 75% of the map, right?
Right.
It's about getting those last things, and
and then it's like, okay, look, you're now allowed to see if you missed anything.
But then you can also use the checkpoints to get to the closest place where the stuff you missed was, which is kind of nice. So it kind of helps with that. So we did finally find a solution.
I'm hoping this is a good middle ground.
Yeah.
Because so then at least you've done 75% of the map, probably without just doing blind mini-map gameplay. And then from that point on, it's like, look, I get it. You probably missed something. You know where it is now. It should actually maybe overall be even more helpful because it's not just revealing the rares. It's going to reveal even more. So you'll know about everything else you missed. So we'll see how it goes. But I understand that was a bit of a aggravation for a lot of people. But that's a perfect example of, again, it's it's why I don't want people to not give feedback, because like this kind of stuff still should be fixed pretty imminently. And so it's
a good case study, because I'm honestly surprised that you did do that, because this seemed like I loved the rare icons, but I was definitely a victim of the I'm only looking at the minimap now, so it kind of seemed like a change for our own good situation. But what you're doing here,
this is a good middle ground.
It seems like it's saving the players that feel like that they're FOMOing because I know I missed like a league mechanic in the map somewhere after this, that is really bumming me out, and then they have to go and crawl back through everything and waste a bunch of time. So that's just kind of saving them that. Sounds like a good compromise change. A nice little extra bonus reveal there. Good stuff.
Yeah. You just said rare monsters, and I just had this random
Good.
Wait,
what more
did
words
we
can I
that?
say?
Probably should have put that in the live stream if we hadn't deployed it yet. But everyone forgot.
It's in the Q&A. Good stuff.
Yeah.
We shall move on to kind of gear and passives, and this is in the topic of balance and character power, and this sort of stuff has been talked about a fair bit. Something that's mentioned a lot is that the ratio of player power that comes from gear versus what comes from ascendancy and passives is much more tilted towards gear than in Path of Exile 1. And so kind of like roughly for an example, like the average PoE 2 passive is like 10%, whereas the PoE 1 passive is 16%, whereas the amounts on gears are pretty similar. So like the 100% increased fire damage on a wand is consistent as tier 1 affix between both games, meaning that like more of the power has kind of been shifted away from the tree, the thing that you get by default, to gear. So this seems like a conscious decision to make gear more powerful. Is this something like you've thought about or made like specific strides towards?
Probably the main thing that we wanted to do in PoE 2 was make it so that the tree is more like we're trying to be more stringent about how the tree is multiplicative with what your gear does. That does make gear more important. I wouldn't say there's necessarily been a thing of like necessarily wanting to the amount of power overall that you get from one and the other is more unbalanced, but it's just making sure that like when you are using the tree that it's specializing your character more towards what the bonuses that your gear is giving you to kind of make the two things together. Like be sort of important to be thinking about both. So that was kind of our primary goal, but I don't know if you've got a different feeling about any of that.
It certainly wasn't like the passive tree being weaker. Like I guess we didn't really even think about it in the point of comparison. We just kind of like went back then. We went really back to the basics and evaluating a lot of our base balance, and so it wasn't like let's nerf it compared to PoE 1. It was more just like what do we want gear to do? What do we want the passive tree to do? What do we want? And all of that at the end of the day is just relative to then how do we want the monsters to scale and which they're all different, right? The way that the monsters scale per level isn't the same. The way that the tree and thus the tree benefits are different. The gear is different, and everything. So again, not really. It was conscious decisions, but not conscious decisions to like nerf from PoE 1 or anything of that sort. That being said, yes, I mean couple other things. I mean, we made, for example, the decision that like we wanted the class starts on the tree to be weaker than the exterior. So generally the nodes are meant to go up a little bit in power as you get further away, so you don't just get the like class hopping kind of thing that historically occurred in PoE 1 quite a bit.
The class starts were stronger than
you get the M on the top and stuff like that. And so that was a decision we made. But yeah, I mean, I guess we did kind of have like we want gear to be more important, especially base gear. I think we maybe overcooked it a little bit right now, but just a little bit with more the ease of it, the ease of getting it. But that's a whole crafting discussion, I guess.
Talk about that too.
More of an in-game problem. But yeah, I would say, I mean, I'm personally pretty happy, honestly, with how it is.
Just that like ratio of importance of gear compared to passive. I guess like it's a question of how much power do you get for free, right? Like ultimately that's what it comes down to is like if my gear if I'm wearing all white gear, like how powerful is my character from just the tree? And that's like a little bit lower, I think, in PoE 2.
And the reason for that
bothers some people, I guess.
The reason for that specifically is because the tree is more multiplicative than it was in PoE 1, where there was more just base stuff, there. I mean, you can look at it even in simple things like, just life on the tree, for example, right? Like that's sort of another example of part of the thinking there is like, like the more base stuff is available on the tree, the more the same characters can be because they can just allocate the same stuff and get the same stuff without having to worry about the items. So yeah, that's kind of
obviously
just one of the
that's not entirely base in PoE 1, but you have base life. As in life without gear.
Yeah. And where are you at on the life thing? Just like since you brought it up, I guess like it's still pretty happy with the decision to like remove that from the tree.
I mean, look, we just wanted to. We just didn't. It's more that decision's mostly about not wanting every character just another one of those cases of every character being the same.
Yeah,
like it's like we'd rather you specialized in the defense that relates to your character rather than just the same stat that every character should use. So we'll just have that general feeling.
I mean, we've obviously still got imbalance here, and there's obviously still work to do. Never ending. So, like, the tree will just continue to evolve. And, like, we added a lot of passives at some point that are a lot more powerful, and we intend to keep doing it. And now we've obviously just added all the Druid ones. But not just that. Like, we added more, like, Ignite support around the Mercenary, for example, this time, like, as in 040. We're doing that. And then there's some changes to, like, some prod speedy stuff. Because, like, we were, like, looking at shotguns and trying to see how can we have them scale, and it's like, well, it turns out if you get a bunch of piercing with prod speed and some other stuff, like you can shoot them across the screen, and so like, well, how do you get that? Oh, there's not many, so we're doing a bunch of like little increments like that just based on what builds need. I know bleed needs a bit more love in the bottom right, and so to make it not just entirely all blood mage spear users and that kind of thing going on. So again, it's going to just, honestly, we'll just do more and more and more and more and more on the tree. I suspect you'll get more. I'm not saying I'm going to increase the value of every node, but just by the nature of how many more things you can invest in and multiplicative elements, you're probably going to end up with a lot more power coming from the tree than what you do right now. But I actually prefer it doing it that way than just increasing all the numbers anyway. Because at the end of the day, if we then increase all the numbers and then it turns out the game is like too easy, well, then you have to nerf something somewhere or just buff monsters, and then you kind of end up in kind of the same place. So it's like, what did you actually achieve?
So with the like approach to life then, which I feel like makes sense, like not wanting the trees to like look the same and whatnot, how do you feel about like why does ES kind of get a separate treatment when it ultimately, although it's a defense like evasion and armor, it functions much more like life? Because there's a lot of ES scaling and ES numbers are pretty high compared to life, and definitely
I mean, that's a current balance issue for sure, but like, you know, just because it happens to function more similar to life, they're all at the end of the day a form of effective HP, right? So, I mean, they just, as long as they're not entirely symmetric, which is what makes them interesting, which is why one works this way and the others work a different way. And but yeah, I mean, there's clearly a misbalance. I mean, you got issues with Ghost Dance obviously being a bit hectic, and I guess going to start listing off things I'm going to nerf, I suppose. But you know, like, I don't know. There's changes to be done here. There's a few changes coming, but we're at the point where I still look at it and I'm like, I'm pretty sure ES is still going to be pretty crazy. That being said, it's like, you know, I don't want to make any last minute kind of knee-jerk reaction and nerf kind of things around this. So like, because we've changed and rebalanced so much, it's really hard to know, and even changes to how the monsters scale and whatnot, it's kind of hard to know exactly how things are going to play out. So it's this kind of thing where I'm like at the point again where I'm like, all right, let's get all these changes out, see how the metas evolve, see what's good, see what's bad, and then like reevaluate it again. So ES is worse, but I don't think it's... honestly, I don't think it's nerfed enough, to be honest, is kind of where I'm at with that. So, but we'll see. We'll see.
Little nudge in the right direction, perhaps. But I know in the past when we talked about this, we discussed around the idea of like letting energy shield values be high, but really focusing on the recovery side of things and making that like you just said, like making things not homogenous, making things different. Like life's really easy to recover, but energy shield's much harder to recover. Like you still kind of...
That is still the intention, yes. That is still the intention.
I like that.
It's just really easy for all of a sudden some cool design to come out, and then all of a sudden it's just a completely trampled recharge.
Yeah. Yes.
And then it's just like, well, now why do I care, you know? And I mean, like, it's okay sometimes if it's like via an insanely, like, I mean, Essentia Sanguine is a perfect example of doing this, right? Like, it just straight up ES leech. And the thing is, like, I don't want to take that away. I just, you know, there's a level of, there's some balance to do and or commonality to do. Like, if that's a thing you strive for and can eventually achieve, and now your character's like freaking god tier, that's exactly what like high-end unique items should do. So in this case, you know, I know we're making that item rarer. Hopefully that doesn't affect the economy too much with some me giving that away. But on standard, sorry. But at the end of the day, I would rather do that than just gutting it. You know what I mean? In this case. But yes, those things are allowed to break the rule. But I very much want to push ES to be recharge based. And as I said, historically, it's again, you just come up with a bunch of uniques and want to do all this cool stuff. And all of a sudden, we've added in another way to completely not care about recharge, and you're getting ES back some other way. So, and that happened, and more and more and more of that came about. And all of a sudden now, you pretty much just got this insane life pool that's permanently full, and it's like, wow, why would you not do this? Obviously you'd do this. So
I imagine there's a lot of incomplete picture going on here as well, where you're still missing classes and archetypes and skills and parts of the passive tree and thing as well. It probably makes it hard to like commit too hard to certain areas of balance when it's such an incomplete picture.
Yes, and it's also just honestly a time issue. We're adding all this new stuff while having to also correct all the existing stuff, and then the new stuff is like, how fast can the new stuff break the existing stuff, and how fast can we then fix that? And it's you know, when I say break, I mean balance break. You know, it's to the point where it's like all these new variables are being added as we're trying to fix all the existing variables and balance them, and these new variables are like, you know, it can be hard, like real difficult. When you're at the point where you're not adding so much new stuff, you can just catch up, get to a point of stability, and for sure it's there. But like we have expanded. Like I've got 3 new people. I don't know if new. I've kind of taken a few people that were more balance oriented out of our QA. I mean, some of our QA people are kind of elite. You know, I don't know if I should say who they are, but some of them are off, you know, top hardcore ladders and stuff. And I'm like, well,
Cool.
look, they do know what's going on. I'm like trying to teach them the philosophies and how to do all this stuff. And so I've got 3 new people doing that. So hopefully, and historically we've had quite a limited number of people actually doing balance. It's quite hard. It's actually one of the harder things to have a good feel for. And if you put the wrong person in that position, who knows where you'll end up. So it's really important to make sure that obviously these people understand the philosophies and are trained well, and you know, you're being cautious with it. But yeah, I got 3 new people with that, so much larger team in the future. So I'm hoping we can tackle a lot more, and we're not just going to be up to like 1 or 2 of us. I mean, historically it's been pretty much me and Andrew, and that's it.
So you've got your elite squad. You're building your elite squad of balanced ninjas now. To
pretty much, yeah. And
shield.
I mean, if we end up with like 5 of us, it's a very, very considering I also have to do the leagues and the end game and the monsters and the bosses and oversee all of that. It's pretty hard to also be able to find a lot of time to sit there with the spreadsheets and with the game and going, what does this build do? What can it do? So getting more people there is going to be a game changer for the future in terms of, you know, what we're able to actually balance, and we probably will be able to do a new class and keep the game up to date in a much better way and keep iterating on this, because we've got a lot more work to do. Like, I don't want people to ever think that we're just like going to stop with this stuff. I mean, PoE 1 hasn't stopped after forever, and often you want to keep metas fresh, you want to update, you want to make new, there's always you make bad things good things bad. Well, you know, bring them in. Not, you know, whatever.
You want to make good things bad quite a little time.
Yeah, I was like, maybe not that. But you know, it's been a pretty tight resource the whole time, and yeah, having more of that is going to honestly be a game changer. So I'm very keen to see how that's going to play out, you know, especially over the next few expansions, and see where that goes and what it allows us to do, and have less of that picking our battles, and let's fight more battles, you know. That's fine, which yeah, should be cool.
Cool. On the gear power level side of things, plus to all skills has been talked about a lot, and even you guys have mentioned in the past, like it exacerbated things like mana issues that people were having. It's obviously very powerful and available in very high quantities. And I think it exacerbates other issues like uniques being less viable because they don't have them, for example. And it does seem to be of a power level that's like overriding other aspects of gearing. Like it becomes kind of a make or break stat in many cases. Where are you guys at with feeling on the plus skills issue?
Well, the original theory behind it was that we wanted to make sure, like for fizz weapons, you always had this like IPD, you know, increased physical damage that was always kind of effectively mandatory stat on those weapons, and you know, it was something where like you would like you know, like you sort of had this baseline of like, you know, some kind of multiplicative way to make the weapon better, and effectively plus skills on staves and wands was supposed to kind of fill that sort of same multiplicative approach, where like that was a thing that you, to make the difference between a bad spellcast weapon and a good one. That was the kind of the idea, to kind of try and get that to so the items mattered more for spellcast weapons. But I think maybe like there's just kind of like, we probably need to have to look at it, but I'm sure Mark, you've got more theories about it.
I mean, we need to change something.
Right.
100%. I mean, I know this, like, you know, we obviously have the illegal mod, the old Essence of Sorcery, giving that extra +1 to focus, the +3 to focus foci, and the old homogenizing for getting the +3s on amulets. By the way, they're gone. Goodbye homogenizing.
I was ready for that one.
They were illegal for other reasons.
Don't know how people are going to feel about that. I'm not sure if I should look at the chat over there and see if it's a W or an L, but whatever, they're gone. It was adding an insane amount of complexity to crafting. But anyway,
I particularly was...
W's.
I particularly was like, I actually don't like crafting mechanics that cause you to have to think about mods in the exact way that they needed you to think about them. So, you know,
how do you mean?
Well, it's a bit tricky. I mean, it's like a whole other conversation probably. But like they I don't think that that they were quite right for PoE 2. So yeah.
But anyway, that's kind of off the
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
I just randomly just started talking about stuff
We'll talk more on the
It's
casting
real easy to
yeah.
just pivot to start listing nerfs and things you're removing for some reason.
Calm down.
Sorry. But yeah, there is an issue. I understand it. I understand the whole, I have this perfect wand up, but I've got triple T1 prefixes, but I don't have the gem level, so throw it on the floor, right? I mean, that's kind of generally it. It's like if it's missing that mod, it's trash, right? That's the bad feel. It's like I did everything right except for that, and it's terrible. And yeah, we were trying to create a thing where it was like similar to, well, like, how do you itemize as a attacker?
Right.
And it was like, how can we have it be not just identical on a caster, but kind of have the same level of complexity of how to get
and in particular
power.
that still have the same level of an item actually matters, right? Because traditionally in PoE1 you had this thing where if you didn't want to have to worry about itemization very much, then like spellcaster was the thing you could do. And we kind of did want to still try to like have it so that items do matter on spellcasters as well.
So why then does it seem like for a lot of people it doesn't work? Like, because IPD doesn't seem to attract ire.
Yeah, I don't fully understand that. I think the mana cost thing might be part of it for sure. The increase in the mana cost. But
I mean, I suspect at the end of the day it's because there are multiple ways to create an attack weapon that are good.
Right.
Even it's more than one way. A fizz weapon is not the only way.
Right.
Whereas a caster weapon doesn't really have that.
Right.
Like that might be it.
And that's it. It's just it's if you don't have that mod, bad. If you do have that mod, it's fine. And that's it. It doesn't matter what the rest is necessarily doing. There's not really much other choice.
Right.
And so that honestly can be enough where it's like you instead of reducing the plus gems, you could create many different options, and maybe it's still fine. Like plus gems is one way, or there's this way, or there's this way, and that way it's like, yeah, sure, there's more opportunities. But yeah, right now it's just either good or bad, very binary. And
it is quite hard to think of multiplicative ways to improve spell damage, though. Like that was a real challenge when we were even looking into that. If I recall,
it's weird to me that like added damage on a caster gear isn't doing that more. Like maybe it's because like so much of that's already available in the game through other means or something. I don't know, like because that is effectively added flat damage in the same way that plus gems is.
Added flat damage on caster gear doesn't exist.
Extra damages, I should say.
Extra damages there. Yeah. Added damage we removed because you just ended up doing a damage effectiveness on then every single skill to the point where it ended up being...
I wasn't in love with damage effectiveness having to exist because I find it to be a bit confusing for people. Like I don't love that, and so I was kind of really hoping to avoid it. I did have this sort of feeling though back when we did that, of this inevitable, like we're probably going to have to add it back again one day, and I'm not going to like that because like it is a very useful tool, but yeah, I think it's just I think it kind of sucks as a thing personally. I'm just not a fan of it.
The damage is extra.
That's another take on that.
I mean, that's we've done. I was just thinking of another change we've done here. So obviously, I'm pivoting a little bit, but it's still talking about caster weapons. So we'll say it's related. But in 040, we are doing a change where, even though we're not changing the plus spell so much, we are making it so that you can't essence +3 spells on the foci, which I said before. Just to be clear, that is a change. But the other thing we're doing is we're taking it's the runic and glyphic equivalent of spell damage on foci and for all the different damage types, and just saying they can't generate on foci now. And I think we're in the end game, we're then increasing the base energy shields a little bit. It doesn't, I know people, oh my god, you're making energy shield better. Don't worry, it makes like no real difference overall with the other changes in mind. But the idea is being that a wand and a foci should be slightly more defensively enhanced, not offensive compared to a staff. And so one thing we've done is we said all staff prefixes. So that's the damage is fire, the element damage is the types. It's the just increased specific damage, increased spell damage. What is it? Mana. I don't remember what else. The prefixes. Those are all now double wands as opposed to, I think it was 50 to 55% higher than wands, give or take. So if you want... Like it just adds more reason to want to use a staff. So the staff prefixes are double wands, whereas a wand plus foci is not giving you. Well, it was pretty much giving you more damage. I actually think it was than a staff would have been able to.
Definitely not.
So at least now staffs are going to be better, but that isn't anything to do with the gem level problem. It's still obviously its own problem, But it's again just talking about a little bit of the like overall improvements to just like finding different types of gear where it's like, well, why do I want the staff when I can have a wand and a
you
focus
actually
every
made a
time?
ton of changes to just weapons, like generally, right? Like in terms of the progressions and stuff, especially through the campaign.
Yes. So when we were adding the talismans for the Druid, we were like, what do we want all the in-game base types to be? What do we want the damage in the campaign? And what we then started looking into was a lot of the other weapons going, well, what were they doing? And then I was looking at things going, well, this doesn't seem right here, and this doesn't seem right there. And you get these weird things which people probably don't honestly appreciate, maybe, where it's like you're upgrading your weapon, so you're going from like random examples. I don't know. I don't actually know if this is true. I'm just going to just hypothetically. It's like you go from two-handed mace to 3 to two-handed mace 4. You know, you're going along the, I don't know what the actual names are. And then all of a sudden, like two-handed mace 5, it's got some implicit on it. And it's like, oh, that's interesting. But the damage is actually, the base DPS of that weapon is actually lower than the one before it. That was like 6 levels lower. And
There
you're
are a few
like,
cases of that.
I don't know if that damage is worth the trade-off of the implicit. And so
Definitely it isn't worth it.
it isn't, yes. The valuation of the implicit's damage penalty was mismatched in a lot of spots. And so you get these things where every third weapon in the campaign is just like a random DPS drop. And so we're changing all of that as much as we can, at least.
The thing is, you might not even necessarily recognize this as a player, because generally speaking, you just like, you see a weapon that dropped and you're like, okay, what's the DPS of this compared to another one? You're not necessarily thinking about the fact that there's a new upgraded weapon type, or that's like, or that should have been higher. So what it ends up being is there's just a whole of like 20 levels go by where it's like, I can't get a weapon upgrade, and it's frustrating. And that's what it actually feels like when you actually play it. But in reality, what it was is that the weapon type that was supposed to be an upgrade is actually a downgrade. That's something that Mark immediately we saw, and he was like, okay, we
we're doing a little bit more. I don't know if we're going to get through all the weapons, but we're trying. Whereas like you get to endgame and it's like, okay, what's your fast weapon? What's your crit weapon? What's your just standard good weapon? And then here's implicit A, implicit B, implicit C, you know. And then it's like, which one's your bonk weapon? Like, which one am I just going to bonk things with? The slow, heavy hitter. And trying to just do a lot more of that and make sure there's all the in-game choices for all of these weapons, bunch of different cool implicits, changing some of them around, just reevaluating the damage of them all, just the base deep. So generally speaking, pretty much all of them going up across the board in little ways. Like, they're not, nothing make or break, but like it's enough of a thing that as you're going through the campaign, you're not just like, where the heck are my upgrades? And also at the end game, just increasing a bit of the choices of different base weapons you could use for different builds and whatnot. So yeah, it's kind of one of those things that, you know, it's easy to go a little bit underappreciated, but, you know, it matters, like in changing the staffs and all of that stuff. It does, you know, contribute to the overall picture of just things feeling good. And, you know, it's another one of these things where it's like, yeah, we just in the process of adding the Druid weapons, we were like, well, let's go do the rest of this right as well while we're at it. So yeah, we've still got a bit more to do there, but I don't know if that will come in this, you know, week to come and or as opposed to afterwards or something like that. But we're just going to try and do as much as we can. So even if not all the weapon types are in the patch notes, it isn't to say we aren't going to do the rest of them before the end of next week, because it doesn't take too long to do them. But, you know, at the same time, you don't want to rush it and mess it up. So, yeah, I don't know. Just a random thing.
I think people are increasingly souring on rarity and gear, especially now that it affects currency drops, and which makes it feel very mandatory, right? Because like, what do we play for? Currency, obviously.
Well, don't you worry. We've had our, you know, every 3 months discussion of talking about rarity and what we're going to do with it.
I think we nerfed it again, didn't we?
We did a little bit. We cut off some of the top tier mods, so just the overall amount of it is lower. It's a stopgap. I don't quite know. We haven't come to an exact decision, but like, it is true that it feels like every change we're making at this point is getting slightly closer to just it despawning.
Keep having those meetings then.
I will get rid of it eventually. It's just that we need to find we need to find the mods that can replace it in the mod pools that like in order to make it work. And it's like, this is the annoying thing. It's like if we just removed it right now, there just wouldn't be enough of a mod. Like the mod pools wouldn't work.
There is an interesting thing we see where and I don't like, for sure it is understandable, but we see a lot of videos being made with just absolute 1000% misunderstandings of how it all works. And which probably isn't helping its cause in any way, because it has all these hidden DR things and just a bunch of hidden mechanics in it. It but yeah, there's certainly a mass amount of misunderstanding as to how it works, and people going, look, it does exactly this change, and it's like it's not even doing 1/10 of what you're saying it's doing. That being said, I'm not saying it's not a problem. It is 100% a problem, but there is certainly a mass misunderstanding with, again, because we don't even explain it anywhere. It's just this hidden, there's some formula somewhere, that no one has access to, except for us.
And you've always been a bit secretive on drop related stuff in particular, and like, you guys kind of happy to keep it that way for that one, or is it something you're like, misinformation?
We wanted to make it clear. We wanted. Okay. We were like, why don't we just get rid of the DR and find a way to make it work and actually display the actual value? But that is at conflict of removing it. So, there's a little bit of like, we just got to pick our direction here. And
it's inherently unclear even to us in some sense. Like, we can't say like the number of the like what okay, that sounds a bit weird, but what I mean by that is like, it's not like that when you get that it just increases currency. Like, it's through like 10 layers of like different ways things work that kind of result in an overall amount, like overall in currency increasing.
You mean like the content people are playing and stuff?
Well, not just that, but even in terms of just the way the system works, right? Like, it's a very indirect method by which currency is increased. It isn't just that we just drop. It's not just like there's some code somewhere where it's like increase currency by this amount. Like, it is actually like it is a result of multiple systems on top of each other working to result in that. And that's why, like, the only way for us to even know like what it even does is by simulating actual drops from actual monsters in order to work out what it actually did. So yeah, it's like sort of, yeah, I understand that might seem strange, but it's because like the drops are complicated, and there's like so many things we've done over the years to kind of like massage them in various ways, and it's like it becomes quite unclear at some point even like what the relationship between one number and another can even be. I
think the takeaway is Jonathan said he's removing it.
I want to get rid of it. We just need to find a thing to replace it within the mod pool.
Like,
and that's very, very
it's
difficult.
okay, I don't need to understand it.
It's exactly the same conversation if we bring up what Dex gives as a it's like it's 100% the same type of problem.
So what should Dex
Jesus,
give?
What if we make Dex give rarity?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Dex scales currency drops.
Yeah, exactly.
But through several layers of abstraction.
And gold find if you're a wyvern.
Only if you're a wyvern.
Yeah, just for dragons.
Makes sense.
Cool.
Oh, no. Okay. On the topic of balance for damage types and damage scaling, lightning damage seems like a clear-cut winner at the moment overall. In terms of doing more raw damage, having access to shock, and even having its own kind of version of stun through electrocute, and I guess separate problems with, like, for example, fire and ignite. Where are you guys at with like the balance between the elements and lightning damage?
I'm not going to
overall?
say that they're now equal, but like a few things. So I mean, I know there was like a 15% more max damage notable. That's now 10. We've done, I think, all of the skills that had multiplicative shock effect are now increased, so they stack additively with the tree. So, it's honestly just like a whole bunch of different little things. Lightning rods are nerfed at Endgame, just while we're here. Don't worry, lots of things are buffed that aren't
Tons of things
that aren't lightning builds necessarily.
Nice.
But no, some are as well. But yeah, it's. I don't want to just make it about let's gut lightning. I want to make it be like, well, let's make these other things feel cooler and more special. So it would be very easy to just go and gut lightning across the board. But that just seems like an overall net loss of fun. I'd much rather, find ways to incentivize the others as opposed to just take away the thing that currently is, kind of enjoyable. So again, it's more important to not just nerf. Oh, now they're equal. I won't say we're there yet, but the problem is obvious, so at least it's not.
And you don't really want things to be like the same power level ultimately. Like, it seems like, one of them should be more damage, and one of them has like more utility, like cold with freeze and chill.
Well, for sure. Like cold was
but ultimately,
way.
people aren't going to accept if one element has more clear speed than another. So like, while it may not be damaged directly, it is in some indirect way it needs to translate to damage on some level.
I mean,
because, it needs to, or rather, it needs to indirectly translate into clear speed in some manner, right? So, you know, that's
unless you're making the monsters 40% stronger.
Well,
and
but that's what I mean, right? Because
and then you're freezing them.
Yeah, but I mean, because we're doing that, it means that it ultimately means that, you know, the higher damage, smaller AoE, like not having to actually rely on arcing all the time to be able to get the massive AoE can kind of like make a difference. So even just that change alone can shift the meta like a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like fair amount of changes to like the passive tree scaling for lightning and stuff like that.
Yeah, shock. I mean, shock is pretty hectic.
Yeah.
Like, kind of, you have this thing where it's like, okay, well, let's say even cold. Obviously, you can freeze more often, but then often the boss is sitting or the monsters are sitting in there. Then, you know, poise timer before they can be CC'd again. You don't have any real control over that. And chill, well, chill has a maximum magnitude of 50, so you can't really scale. So, like, already alone, you can 5x the power of a shock, because I think the cap is 100. And in some cases, you know, Stormweaver even go further than that. Whereas you can't exactly be doubling the power of a chill necessarily, and so on. So there's like, even just that as a random thing. Like Ignite doesn't have enough love right now for sure. Yep. So even if it was meant to be those three ailments are a point of comparison, I mean, shock is kind of a little bit crazy right now compared to what the others are capable of doing. Not to say chill isn't strong. Not to say freeze isn't also obviously powerful. You know, they will have their time, and they may have already had their. I mean, we had freaking cast on Comet on crit for a while there, and all of that as well. So, you know, it will always change. But yeah, I mean, just bringing some of the shock back and some of the other just little outliers here and there was a first step in the direction. But it's very important not to just do I hate lightning, goodbye lightning. You know, it's like be easy to do. It's the wrong thing to do, for sure. So.
Yeah, people also like playing lightning. I think
exactly.
It's just the feeling when they're like playing their cold builds and like it's better to convert to lightning. That's why I think that's when it becomes more problematic. You kind of mentioned, you touched on the fact that you feel like Ignite needs some love. I feel like with damaging elements, there's a fundamental thing maybe that's causing problems where it's scaling with like hit damage and crit, so directly, I guess, in this case, differently to how it's been done in the past, where it leads to maybe, in addition to it being a bit weaker, feeling like just kind of an add-on, like Ignite's not really a thing. I don't really have a pure Ignite build. Ignite's just like a bonus added kind of damage on top.
Yeah,
of like
it's a bit flat, honestly. I agree. We've had heaps of discussions here about all kinds of different options. We had some boil down to whether or not we're going to do keystones. We want to do something. We just haven't landed on exactly what we want it to be and how, whether or not it's like we change the base versus change it through, again, a keystone or something you spec into. But yeah, it is a bit flat, and it doesn't have enough, like, I mean, well, yeah, it is, as you said. It's just, well, here's a bit more DPS, I guess, at the end of the day. And then even there's limited ways of kind of scaling it, and you know, I'm not going to say there's none. There are some, but it's not enough. It's yeah. I mean, overall, I'd say it just hasn't got enough love. So, but we want to.
Backtracking a little bit on the like gearing, we touched on crafting a little bit, and so I love 0-3 crafting. Like, it was such a huge change from like a game that some would joke didn't have crafting into some of the most powerful and interesting crafting we've had ever in Path of Exile. I think like it's right up there. 0-3 crafting was amazing. Like the combination of the core currency changes, the changes to essences was really good, and how these things interplay with some of the omens and the abyss crafting even. So like definitely felt like some things were a bit illegal, and just the overall like how good it was. Like I don't know, like, oh no, I feel like this is illegal. So what of that was illegal or is illegal or is being?
Well, you said essences, so we talked about essence of sorcery.
It's not like we're gutting anything or anything like that, right? There's just a few illegal things.
It's a few.
Are you pretty like you like overall like where it ended up?
I mean, I think it's way better than it was before. Like, 100%.
Great.
Yeah.
It's what I found playing, and obviously and collating a little bit of data, but you know, it's the kind of thing where I don't have enough data to go and or enough feedback to go and make some sweeping change. Is that people find that getting the, you know, it's too easy now to get to the absolute upper echelons of gear. is what is kind of honestly, and I assumed that there'd be a bit of a public civil war about me saying that, because I could see people going, no, that I love it that way, and a bunch of people going like, well, I'm completing my characters way too fast, right? I got nowhere to go. I got no, I want to play for longer, and I have nothing to spend my time doing. Like, it's done, my character's finished. And I could see people being very binary on that for sure. But then it's like, how much of that just comes down to homogenizing, for example, and a few different axes like that.
I think a fair amount.
And but yeah, I know there's other problems, like for example, because of the high tier currency, there's a little bit of like you don't even need to pick up tier 5 rares anymore, because what you actually want is a base type to craft from. And so in some ways it's wrong in that regard, for sure. Like, if people feel that way, that's probably not good. Yeah, and then there was some other things with the essences that went wrong. Like, for example, the essence of haste, being able to craft melee tiers of attack speed onto bows. It's not alright, right? That's better than what a bow can even yield. So, like, now a dropped bow can never be the best thing in the game because there's an essence that can grant high value. That's not intentional. Like, the essences should be good, but they shouldn't be giving illegal mods, as we keep saying. So, yeah, it's a bit of that, but I would hate to... I want to see how it goes, but I definitely... feel the thing that like definitely hit me the most that I want to get more feedback on is the people just going, it's not you. There's no point in picking up T5 rares eventually, because it, I would rather just craft from a white base and I can more guarantee that it's going to be good. And so what's the point? But yeah, there's a bit of that. And so, but again, it's very important with these kinds of things not to just like, that's obviously right, let's just change everything and now item gearing is just ruined, because you could very easily undo with a lot of the good that 030's crafting added. So yeah, fine-tooth comb, being very careful with it, for sure.
So it sounds like definitely getting rid of a few specific things. Omen of homogenization was a pretty clear one. I think that was seemed hyper illegal, as well as like some of the specific essences. Like the tiered currencies, you feel like you're pretty happy with that overall?
I think overall I like them. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And like the essence changes in general.
Yeah, for sure.
And what about abyss craftings now that that's going core? Is that like changing a lot? Because that I think played a pretty important role in giving you some interesting decision making in crafting.
It's not changing very much aside from the removal of waystone crafting from it.
Yeah,
sure, there'll be a few number changes around.
Yeah, just little bits here and there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, inherently we have to, because we buffed staff prefixes, we have to go and look at everywhere that adds equivalent mods and make sure those are increased as well. And so, like, either way, there's some overflow effects that just kind of happen due to balance changes all over the place. But nothing like no significant change to that at this point, for sure. But it's still there. When you're playing through, even though it's core, when you're playing through the campaign, much like you get the world map icons, or it's like, oh, this thing's here. We've got a bunch of areas where there are abysses.
A few.
I think it's 6. And each give throughout the entire campaign, each will give a crafting thing. So you have at least 6 guaranteed campaign crafts.
Oh, great. Awesome.
If you explore and do the areas, and you can see it on your world map if you've done it or not. And so you're giving you a bit of that throughout. So we don't lose that the league had. And then in-game, sure, use your tablets and then start running it. And
awesome.
If you want to get the crafting, yeah.
Well, I'm amped to hear that, like, overall it seems to be fairly intact then, because I was definitely a huge fan of, like, the direction crafting's taking there. So, and I'm excited to see it getting built upon with, like, the Sacrifice of the Vaal stuff too. Well, the new Vaal stuff. Excellent news. Alongside that, we had the addition of asynchronous trade, and both things obviously very powerful for gear acquisition, raising both like the kind of floor of like what's considered your like baseline gear. What's your one exalt gear basically goes up a lot, but also like getting it more accessible to get to, like to craft or to obtain the really high end gear. How much of an effect have you seen in terms of like players kind of making the game easier? Like, has the game gotten a lot easier overall for people? Are people like reaching their final product earlier?
It's really hard to tell how much of it is the trade system and how much of it is the crafting changes. Like, it's actually really quite hard to disentangle.
So what about as an overall picture?
Yeah, I mean, look, but at the end of the day, it's like the crafting system the trading system as it is something people just need to have. So, like, we just have to, work within that.
But
Yeah,
I'll tell you, like, if we have a end-game itemization problem, we're not going to go and say we need to nerf trading.
Good.
Right.
We're past that.
Yeah.
We're finally, we can put that in our review mirror.
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, so the question is, like, I guess now more just adapting over to that. I'm just curious, like, as to how extreme it has been, because it seems like it would be absolutely massive, like crazy. But
it's honestly quite hard to tell, as I said, due to the other changes.
I guess it's like a longer period thing to
But then at the end of the
analyze.
day as well, you could say that if this is a feature we need to have, then it doesn't necessarily matter. Like, we just need to work with it and just deal with it. So, you know.
I know in the past there was a fear, and this kind of touches on crafting a lot, where if people could craft like really good gear super easily, that they would stop playing. Like the player retention would go down. I feel like in some cases we've seen some of the opposite phenomena. Like there is, to an extent, the opposite phenomena where like people gain access to the builds they want to play. They gain access to content they might not have otherwise in a more reasonable time frame for them. So their engagement and the amount of time they play ends up going up as a result. Like in a surprising twist.
That definitely can happen, but at the end of the day, like retention isn't exactly the reason why we do it. It's because we sort of feel like, you know, like if we did want to make getting the hardest gear harder, then the reason we would be doing it is because we don't like the feeling that you can get of like, I don't have anything else to get. You know what I mean? Like that would be the reason to do it, not necessarily because of retention reasons. You know what I mean? Like it's more about the play experience, to be honest. Because, you know, when it comes right down to it, like our model has always been, we want to keep you coming back every league. Like we don't necessarily care how long you play a given league for. We just want to make sure that each time you play a league, you're enjoying your experience, that you want to come back and play the next one. So, you know, that's kind of our philosophy on that. So, you know, retention isn't directly a thing that we're like optimizing for exactly in that way.
Players hyper-fixate on that.
Yeah, it's more about retention from league to league. Like, what are we doing? You know, like how many players do we get back for the next league, as opposed to how many players do we get back the next day?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess because we have like Steam charts, we get hyper-fixated on retention numbers.
I mean, it's not like it doesn't matter either, right? Because you can, on some level, judge the success of how much people liked a league based on that.
Yeah, it can tell you how much fun people are having.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, what people are saying about what they thought about it is actually more important than the number of people actually playing it, because like that, you know, so long as they're like happy and they want to come back, you know, then we're happy.
Mean, if you have more fun in a smaller amount of time and then you're more happy to come back next league, then that's a win.
That isn't necessarily a problem, right?
You may have played less this league, but maybe...
So they're kind of a little bit unrelated in some ways, but also sort of related in others, you know.
Okay, well, it'd be interesting to see how this continues to play out then, the crafting and trading thing. I'm super interested in like the economic aspects of that.
Right.
But it's definitely had a big impact, and on the whole, like 0.3 felt like a huge net positive for both crafting and trading.
Agreed.
So good.
Yep.
So good.
Agreed.
All right, well, we'll keep. I'll ask about that like everything. I think 'cause it's like where do you guys feel it's at now? What about now? Can we scroll to the end? Thanks. There we go. So we had just a couple of random questions. I do see one in chat, but it's not really a question. People just typing move speed, but I don't really actually know what the context for that is. You guys know?
It's the speed at which you move.
Very insightful. Thank you. Maybe you guys could type an actual question in chat. I'm just saying instead of just chanting, but I'm asking too
I mean,
much.
adjacent to that, one change we have made, which is kind of interesting, and I think it's a kind of... I don't know if the general desire is more or less of it. I suspect you'll find a bit of both. But irrelevant of that, like a change we made is... there's lots of in-game runes where you can now only use one of them. And it's quite interesting because obviously before it was like
That's
get the double socketable effect on boots, put all the removal speed runes in, and it's well, great, now you got... And, you know, it's kind of interesting, but it also meant that generally what was happening is every single slot was just stacked with the same rune type. So now you're getting this like kind of nice mixture of different runes being used and different things, and it's kind of enhancing that. But yes, it overall makes the amount of movement speed you're getting from boots lower at the end game. But those were like very, very, very expensive. So which is kind of cool. What else is not much else has really changed
kind
there.
of like a rehashing of the old discussions of like the mandatory move speed on boots versus like implicits and things like that. I've always been a big fan of like a little bit of implicit movement speed on boots as you go up or something like that. But I know you guys are happy with like having move speed be an important stat on boots. Like, I guess, and maybe some people just want more move speed, but
I mean, some people always will.
That's a thing, yeah.
There's probably some people that want to move
faster.
It's just less. I think there's some people who might want to have a less mandatoriness to have to move so fast as well to some degree. But
I've been more on that side of things. So maybe make some of the maps a little smaller, so move speed's less important. I feel. We don't like mandatory mod items on. It was that topic. Okay, cool. Okay. Thanks, team. Just confirming that. Yeah, I feel like that's been discussed fairly well at this point. Yeah,
we're at the same stance on that, really. Which is it's interesting because technically, if we end up acknowledging that is wrong in the context of staffs and wands, then we might have to reevaluate why it's right in the context of movement speed. You know, it's an interesting thing where one discussion might yield the other because it's kind of a similar problem in both contexts, and we might end up who knows what side of the fence we're going to land on. You know what I mean? So
I've seen Acolyte of Chayula get mentioned a lot. I have not played that class, so I can't speak to it too closely. But is that one that is getting
we've done number buffs at the very least, yes. Yeah, okay. I think almost every ascendancy class has some level. Like honestly, some of it is like one node changed. Some of it, like for example, Pathfinder's got 2 whole new notables, and like we got rid. I mean, Pathfinder just did that. We got rid of the poison spreading notable because it's pretty much Herald of Plague, and we just put the 4-pointer to the 2-pointer, so you get the actual more powerful spike one for cheaper. We got rid of that like multi-choice ailment mitigation, and we were like, wow, it's the Pathfinder, so let's do some cool passive tree stuff. So pulling some inspiration from the PoE1 Scion, the Pathfinder can now also allocate passives from either the Witch or the Warrior start points, you know, for just like, you know, doing some crazy builds. And I think there's even a new notable on there where normally you have your highway nodes and it's like 5 dex and strength. There's also now 3 other options for the Pathfinder can take that node, and now there's 6 choices you can do on your travel nodes. So it's like, oh, I don't want as much attributes. I'll get instead damage. I think it's damage defenses and like cost efficiency or something. So you can kind of like better balance how much damage you want, defenses you want, or reduce. So it's like another kind of cool, interesting thing. So yeah, I mean, that's a class where it's gotten a bit more changes. Acolyte is numerical for now. But again, we want to do something grander with Chaos. It's on
There's quite a lot of just monk
list.
generally improvements as well, just balance-wise, right?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, every class has kind of got
pretty
changes everywhere.
In the thick of it.
I think the patch notes currently lacks... we have a thing where we're doing a bunch of changes to specific monsters for being spected.
Okay.
Like, when we actually looked at it, we're like, look, if we just increase Spectre overall, it's going to increase the specific specters. Like we want to increase the amount of the pool of viable monsters for different cases. Yeah. So here's the thing. Now it takes it from a skills balance team into the kind of monster balance team situation, and like sort of different resource. So we're going to start doing that process where we try and do like, you know, 5 to 10 from here and here and here and here per patch, and kind of just start trying to get them to be more viable. And specifically as specters, and honestly you'll find most of the time it's just changing the cooldowns and changing the AI to be like, not because normally they're just like, I have to care about a player and maybe some minions are there, but honestly sometimes they just don't even care about the minions. They're just like, nah, there's a player, right? They assume there's a player because generally speaking there is. And so now when they make a specter version, well, there's no player for them to target. There's, you know, only monsters, and so they might be just making some silly decisions about how they're targeting and when they're using their skills and stuff like that. So want to do a bunch of that, but those won't be in the patch notes because the intention's that we're still doing them. I don't want to release a half-baked set of patch notes for that. The other thing is I think we're still doing... I've held back... From the patch notes, I've held back a bunch of the minion occult, specifically a bunch of changes around command skills and stuff like that, just because I want to just do a little bit more iteration before we release that. Couple of Ice Ranger changes. I think that's like a massive improvement to the Ice Ranger kind of play. I mean, using the existing skills, a lot of numerics, a lot of changes to ice fragments, stuff like that. What else is not in there? There's a few other bits and pieces not in the patch notes, and that's because all of our stuff is... And that's just not to say there's nothing changed. I've just taken them out for now because I want to make sure they're right. Otherwise, we have to give some false information and then change it, and it's not great.
You've been updating the patch notes over the course of a week now, so people should still probably expect that.
Yeah, for sure.
Initial patch notes coming.
I know they were like. I mean, I think we ended up changing something like 80 different unique items or something like that.
Sick.
Again, mostly focusing on endgame ones, boss ones, mythic ones, working our way down the rarity. So like more of the ones that are meant to be higher value and meant to be higher effort. We've demoted some to be more common. We've promoted some to be rarer, stuff like that. And done a whole pass. But even then, like I know last night we were like, oh, there's like kind of 5 or 6 here that we're like maybe on the fence about. Let's, to be safe, pull them out, discuss them, reevaluate them, and then pull them back in the patch notes afterwards. Just to be safe, because again, I don't want to mislead people.
I saw a question about that from our resident summoner expert in chat. But the monster changes, like for making specific changes to monsters for specters, does that end up in patch notes? That seems like pretty hard to track.
It will this time. Nice. Well, I don't think we've done much in the way of actual specific monster changes this time around. But this, what I was talking about doing, will, yes.
Okay.
It just what I'm saying is it won't be in the initial set of patch notes because we haven't finished them yet. So, but they will be, like, I think the patch note says will be in a post later this week, or later, in the week coming. So
a funny one in chat I see is like, when can we get more melee variety? I'm like, you guys literally just added like a new melee weapon. Like, I don't know if you guys know, but the talisman's a melee weapon.
No. Melee is never right in any game ever. No, I mean, because it's kind of true, right? Like,
there's a funny phenomenon right now where it's like, whenever we talk about melee, people say that like there's literally only maces in the game, and it's like quarterstaves are over in the corner crying. It's like no one pays any attention to it. It's like doesn't count as well.
But it's like a half ranged weapon.
Stormwave really melee, then you get that.
There's always this funny exception with it, but like ultimately, I think what it comes down to is that the game doesn't have swords.
Yes,
yet.
I know.
Is that,
I know we need swords. I get it.
We need swords.
We need swords.
So swords are.
That's funny.
From talking to you, it sounds like swords. Swords are getting added to the game at some point.
At some point, we will have swords. I can promise you that.
Yes, it's the importance is understood. It seems it's a bit too fundamental, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Swords are a bit cool.
But yeah, I mean, we were talking about the ascendancy. So yes, a lot of numerics, some more broader changes. Some getting a little bit, some getting a lot. Like just because it's getting a little bit doesn't mean we think it's in the right spot. At the end of the day, we've just started going. Like Smith and Katava got a decent amount of changes.
Nice.
Kind of a lot better now for sure. We like over nerfed it. But yeah, lots of like, around the. I mean, honestly, like I want to say 90% of all the balance changes are probably in the direction of taking underplayed and underpowerful things and making them a bit better.
Nice.
That isn't to say that we've successfully made, like maybe at the end of the day, lightning archers are still somehow better than ice archers at the end game. But certainly the gap is narrowed and you'll feel less bad for playing one over the other, and less bad about decisions. And so that's ultimately the goal, and we'll get there eventually. But huge step in the right direction, I'd say. But yeah, and then things like Outer Louis, all those outliers on the top end, those are coming down a bit for sure. Sometimes more than a bit, depending how extreme they were. Culmination's another one where like just having an uncapped combo thing and you get damage per combo. I mean, and then obviously you can just one-shot everything in the game at that point. So that's a problem as well. Some of these outliers 100% brought into place, given caps, whatever the case is. But again, more like 95% of all the changes that we're trying to make is bringing up the underplayed things to be a bit better. And just to all kinds of varying degrees. It's really hard to... It's like, do you just do everything across the board and try and look at everything and give everything a minute? Or do you really hone in on one build? And right at this point, we're trying to do a very widespread, look at literally every skill and go, is there a decision what would we do? And it's like, it would require this huge rework. Okay, instead of waiting for that, can we just do some numbers for now? Do the rework later to really give it what it truly should be? If so, let's do that and then bench that thing for a later time when we have more time and then move to the next, do the same assessment, and then we just try to do that for literally everything.
The Balanced Ninja squad is currently focusing on clear speed, it sounds like. AoE.
Yes, but for things that are not already, up at the top tier, generally.
Right. We're getting quite close to patch notes, so we'll rapid fire some things off here. It seemed like at one point, like Druids were going to have claws as their weapons, so that has obviously changed to talismans. Or
that might have been a long time.
That was actually for the Huntress.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, weird. Yeah. So it sounds like claws are probably not going to be a thing then.
Probably not anytime soon.
Decided not less interesting than other options. Yeah. All right. Cool. hot swapping between controller and mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, something I promise every single time.
So
and yet somehow we still haven't done it yet. So what I can say is that it is actually, we have an implementation of it. We're not shipping it this time. But it's much more close than it was last time. Like, there's just some stuff that needs to happen. But, like, it is a thing that has been seen on a programmer's workstation as to work. But, yeah, there's still a bit more to do. But, yeah, like, next time, I know I've said this twice before, but next time, we will definitely have that. I know it's like, it's a weirdly huger feature than it seems because, like, the code was just originally not written with that in mind at all. And, yeah, it's just requiring a lot of re-engineering of a whole bunch of existing UI to be able to get it to work.
Looking forward to it so I can
I know.
actually do inventory management.
I know. We will have it, but yeah,
controller inventory. Oof,
yeah.
No.
But yeah.
Okay, good news. It's being worked on daily. It sounds like. Do you have like a rough timeline for full release, or not ready to announce that yet?
Don't really have it to announce, but I mean, look, I certainly don't want it to be 2027. Like, I really want it to be next year. Like, I really do. So, like, it'll be, I really want it to be next year. But
we certainly underestimated the amount of work we wanted to. It's certainly by having to make all the leagues constantly and all of that. And I know some people might be like, just don't. But like,
you need to do.
We want people to play the game still and enjoy it and, do what we want to do. But so, yeah, you get this thing where we severely underestimated how much extra time it would add.
Your rule of cool of like, we want to do the 130 extra passives because it's cool. I mean, that has an expense.
Yes, all of this does get in the way technically, but...
I mean, look, at the end of the day, we're not going to release until everyone's happy.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's what needs to happen first. So,
it's a good trade-off.
Yeah.
With the performance improvements, which looked like really impressive, even more than the 25% you were saying, like looking at the side-by-side footage was like, it looks even better than that.
Yeah, I mean, look, we did 25. I said 25% as a commitment because like that's kind of like I want to make sure, like, look, people are really sensitive to the stuff, so like I wanted to make sure that we're not over-promising.
Under-promise.
So under-promise and over-deliver was the plan, but effectively, like, I've been focusing a lot myself actually and trying to make sure that it's getting better. Effectively, what we've done is, I mean, obviously there's just sort of traditional optimization that happens, but a lot of it is just effectively making sure we're multi-threading things better, taking advantage of more CPU cores. If you're GPU bound and you don't have dynamic resolution turned on, then it obviously won't affect you because you're GPU bound. If you've got dynamic resolution on, so GPU is not so much of a concern, then CPU was definitely a problem for just about everyone. Like even really fast CPUs were having issues in in-game mapping. So the goal really was to make it so that, like when you've got a lot of shit going on, that your CPU is not overloaded. We did that by multi-threading things much better than we were before. Traditional optimization, just lots of improvements there. Like now... there's so many things that are working better than they were before. Like in many cases, honestly, you see double frame rate, like just straight up.
Awesome.
But as I said, like not consistently in all cases. So and consoles obviously saw a huge improvement. They consoles just have weaker CPUs than PCs do. So therefore, when you're doing CPU optimization, consoles are what's going to benefit from that. It's just a lot better. Now, one of the things I'm a bit worried about is that by multi-threading more things, you can run into multi-threading bugs. And so there might be, hopefully not, but there might be some more crashing going on when we first launch, just because like the thing with multi-threading is that depending on the exact scenario, different things can happen at different times. It can cause some issues. I'm really hoping we don't run into that. We're trying to do as much testing as we can to fix all those kinds of issues. Effectively, that would be the worry. But yeah, I think that it was definitely worth taking the plunge and doing that stuff because it is way better. I probably should make like a video on exactly some of the go into a deep dive into it at some point because it's kind of interesting.
It feels like even still, occasionally you guys are still just finding
ridiculous things
that we just made it a whole nother chunk faster.
Yeah, exactly. Just
because of some just ancient thing.
It's we definitely still find some crazy stuff, and it's going to be a lot better.
I expect it's just going to keep going as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. So that's the other thing is like I want to spend even more time on getting this exactly right. We're not even at the point when I'm looking at it now, I'm like we could still theoretically make this quite a bit faster than it even still is.
You've been personally really on this every time.
I have. Just because it's been such a big issue and, I wanted to actually get back in there and spend a bit of time on it. And as I said, like already it's so much better now. We'll be even better than that.
Awesome. Fantastic. It's great news. Patch notes are here.
All
so
right.
we will end there and let
no
people
one's interested
go
in
and
listening to us
read
anymore.
the
They've got,
patch notes.
they've got
All
the
right,
stuff.
everybody's gone.
Yeah.
No, thank you very much, guys. It was a pleasure to talk to you once again,
Yeah,
and
thank
I
you very
look forward
much.
to checking it out and going and playing some more.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Well,
you.
It's good to have you here.
Alrighty, thanks for the questions, everyone. We'll
Thanks,
see you next
everyone.
time. Thanks for watching.
I don't know which camera's on, so I'll just look at you.
Oh, look at all the cameras.